One job.
I think I just barely missed the F part, so we're streaming now.
I said call me.
I mean, we're technically waiting on Brony Inspector, so, but no, it's fine. We're going to go now since basically I don't want
Like
to
call
keep...
my phone
Oh,
because I was napping.
I'm sorry, Princess.
Well, was it a good nap?
Nah, I woke up to me being late.
That's
So
the
it
best thing to
wasn't
wake up to.
Someone
Then.
didn't do the thing I asked them to do.
Indeed. Well,
The
Wow.
exact quote was, "Call me when ready." Like
Oh,
on my phone.
I saw call
Wake
me.
my ass up. I need a short napu.
Okay.
Well, I
Wait,
mean,
so you wanted him to wake you up inside?
Yes.
wow.
Dude, you're gonna need some fucking safety on the internet after I'm done with you.
Oh, come and get it, boo boo.
Hello.
That said, I got 10,000 views from the time I took a nap to the time I woke up.
Nice.
Nice.
That's positive.
Oh, that sleepy reading.
Spectre.
Ah!
Okay. Boom. There we
I also
go.
have like a fuck ton of messages on the Discord, so.
Oh no, I appreciate it too. So here's what I had written out here. So I know there have been some concerns on both sides of this discussion. One line of thinking about safety in the fandom versus public perceptions. Recently I saw a video that I felt was relevant to some of the concerns here. It was a video called Furries Ruin Everything. It puts out this one gentleman named Uncle Kage. He's very well spoken, I recommend it, but let's see. Despite the message, he's someone who cares very greatly about his fandom. For example, the video talks about how news outlets will try and reach out to the fandom, and most intelligent people will pass, but then they'll keep going until they talk to somebody maybe less experienced and less wise, and unfortunately those people may mean well, but they won't necessarily do what's right. And I think that might be one of these situations where I'm trying to do the best I can, and maybe they're better public speakers, a little bit more up the chain, and in instances like this, in concerns for the fandom, I'm just, I'm open for feedback, naturally. And if you feel that either... Yeah, either I or Leo are doing things incorrectly wrong, I'd love to hear from other people in the fandom who have their concerns. Ty, take it away, if you have any.
Well, I mean,
Did I walk in the middle of the stream? And
No,
just say
that was me. Yeah, we just started going. You're perfect. You're great.
Okay, cool. Okay, so one thing I think is kind of important to do is just kind of establish what exactly you're talking about before we start getting into our questions, comments, and concerns.
Okay, so
You get a good general overview, but people need deets.
Okay, yeah. So basically, I guess sort of setting the floor here. The area, like I said, public perception. I understand that some of the more higher up people, perhaps Ty, was a bit concerned about sharing links to certain videos, and basically we came to the conclusion where I believe Ty made a remark. Unified front, was that it? Something along those lines, Ty?
I don't think I said unified front per se, but I think if we're talking about what I think we're talking about, it was more about, how do I say it? I think it was more about the approach of how we go about things, right?
I think unified front's a good line. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I
Says
like
it
it.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, if I or Leo are doing something wrong in exchange for the help, where people like Ty and Dega, people who mean well, whose hearts are in the right place, if we could have your assistance, we'd be probably more consistent to rein it in. Little kowtow, a little diplomacy, a little, you give us some suggestions, we listen.
I think the thing is though, like at least when it comes to a bunch of things, we'll have different opinions on how we should approach all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you might have your one way, I'll have my other way. We'll go about this in totally different ways. So when I say that, oh, I don't like the way that you go about things, or any of you guys go about things, not saying I do right now, but let's just pretend, just for
Okay.
as an example.
Yeah, pretend you're Jeff Scorcher right now. Let's do this.
So, needless to say, though, I think it's important to know that yes, we'll have different opinions on how we should approach this, but that's not to say that I completely disagree with how you go about things. It's just not how I would go about things.
And that's fine. And I fully understand I do make mistakes, and there's definitely room for critique. That's why I'm saying, are there any of those things that spring to mind? Since you
Okay,
you
so
had a day, Mr. Ty and Dega, did you do your homework?
I didn't do a lot of homework, so this is all on the fly. But
Okay.
I would say if I had a critique of you,
Go ahead.
I think
Your
you
profile picture's
definitely.
pretty bad.
Well, yeah, I'd say that. I
Oof.
think that's
You're king
first
and
and
child.
foremost.
You know, they're like, you're the guy who's gonna get safety here.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
not making. Okay, the profile picture. Good one, guy.
One. No, but like I think the thing is, if I were in your position, and what I would do differently is, I think you were talking about this before, is I think you're very quick to name names and to perhaps jump to conclusions and report that to everybody before I think we have the full picture. I think no, you are pretty good at the timing, but like there are some times where I'm like, perhaps we haven't seen both sides of the story. Maybe we should get both of that. That's just how I feel sometimes, though. But I think for the most part, you usually do a pretty good job.
Okay.
Well,
There's very little room where I can complain.
No.
Mind if I actually add to this?
Yeah, go ahead. Take it
Sure.
away.
Okay. So, FNGR, you are actually pretty damn good when it comes to this stuff, and not like jumping the gun. In typically,
Typically.
I don't think
No, I
I've
understand.
se-
I screw up here.
I don't think I've seen you fuck up.
No, it's happened. It's happened.
I'm pretty sure it has. I mean,
Yeah.
in your line of work, it has. But here's the thing that I kind of want to give you perspective on, which I don't think Leo and you necessarily have the greatest perspective on, right?
Okay.
And it's something to consider when you're reaching out to bigger people for help and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I don't want to say anything like, "Oh, we're bigger, and that's because it's not worth our time" or anything like that. If you accidentally fuck something up and you go to a bigger person and they, help you out, when you come to someone like my size and I, let's say I upload a video, that's going to get magnified like 10 trillion%. Right?
Yes.
And it could spiral out of control, and that kind of like anxiety with possibly ruining a innocent person's life is the reason
Possibly.
why a lot of people my size are very hesitant to pull the trigger on anything. Like I said, I have a video that I uploaded less than 24 hours ago, and it has 43,000 views right now. Imagine if I was talking about a pedophile, it got fucked up. Like, you had
So
every.
you're worried about potentially amplifying something that winds up being wrong, is what you're.
There's when you're a
That's
smaller
what the
channel
concern
and you,
is. Yeah.
when you're a smaller channel and you fuck up, you just you delete the old video, make a follow up saying I'm sorry, right? You do it as a big channel. People are gonna remember the negative. They're not gonna remember the positive because people don't click on positive videos as much as they do negative ones. And the difference between people who know and don't know, could go from 20 to 20,000, and that's fucking scary.
And that's why you make sure. That's why you make sure you.
Yeah.
vet
What
the
I mean,
information.
And then that also requires a lot of time, research, and like due diligence on our end.
But does Anthony have a reputation for cutting corners in that department? I mean, I get that
It's
there's
not
fuck ups here
necessarily
and there,
about that.
but yeah, I'm just trying to.
Even Chris Hansen fucks up.
Of course.
Well, you can never be
And that's
100%
the thing.
perfect.
I mean, he's in
That's
jail.
the trick.
He is in
Oh,
jail.
I mean,
But
he
that's
bounced
his
checks. Yeah.
Yes.
That guy bounces checks, and he'll convince you to park your car in a no parking zone. But he has a deal with the tow truck guy. He's the worst.
Okay.
But
Yeah, go
Did you
on.
mute him?
But yeah, no, like even if FNGR had every reason to believe and all the evidence pointed in a specific direction, but if it's found out later that that's just not the case, then you fucked up in a way that literally cannot be reversed.
Well, the damage is done at that point.
Yeah,
you can't go
You know,
back.
like I said, when someone like FNGR size calls someone out, it's like
I
like I
don't.
said, it's very easy to undo the mistake. Because
I think
you
it's
can-
easier,
you
but
can-
like it's still going to cause harm though. Like I think
It's gonna still cause
size
harm,
is one
like-
thing, but you can't look at it always just as size. I think no
it's
matter
the
what.
difference between getting punched in the arm and providing some providing a band-aid versus getting shot in the knee and then kicked in the balls as a response. It's
Yeah.
it's a whole
all just as
magnitude
bad.
size
All
bigger.
bad though, but yeah, definitely different.
So, like
magnitudes.
from an outsider's perspective, it may look like that people are just unwilling to help you guys or anything like that. It's more like it requires a lot of time and effort that some people don't necessarily have to put in to make sure that they don't fuck something up to the point where it could ruin someone's life. And I do respect what you guys do, and you certainly are doing a good job on that front. But it's just something to consider when reaching out to bigger people.
Few things here I do want to address. Number one, when we do try to spread this information, you're mentioning subscribers and people to follow you. Yeah, that's all well and good. Your example works if we were asking you to do something like a video. And I do understand the concern of making sure the information is correct. But more often than not,
can I make a quick response there, Leo? For example, I've had Hateful point out, I think it was, where the whole idea is like, well, you retweeted the Mimkage thing. Are you going to correct that mistake now that whole thing winded up being less than? And I was like, but it was just a retweet. Yeah, but you got a responsibility. It's like, I get it. You know, I could see why people would be reluctant to give the tweet when something like that goes wrong.
I understand that, but moving forward here, if this was if these instances were really convoluted, really sketchy, number one, we do a lot of checking to make sure they're not. But all the ones that we've uncovered in this past year, they're not really easy to screw up, or rather, they're not the type of situation where it's really convoluted and we're not sure about everything. It's actually very cut and dry.
Yeah, typically speaking, it's like, when did these people stop just confessing themselves? You know,
for example, every single time we have busted somebody so far, they have openly admitted that they are having sexual communications with people that they know are minors. No, and they have this in writing or in voice. This isn't well, maybe we're getting him on the wrong.
Yeah, there's no plausible deniability. They're always very much aware of what they're doing and very much just saying what happened most of the time.
Out of curiosity, what percentage chance, if any, that you could have screwed up at any point down the line?
Well, we did
like
have
that one guy who admitted to having ERP without knowing what ERP was.
I was about to get to that one. Yeah, Leo.
Yeah, we had that one instance where the guy came on there and he was talking about how he'd ERP'd without knowing that was. We were giving bad information. We came in half cocked, and we haven't done that since. If we're looking at
the percentage chance of if the percentage chance is 1%. And the alternative for fucking up is potentially ruining a innocent person's life, then, you know, why not just let the ground troops fight the ground battle at that point?
Well, in that case, and we might as well just ignore what we do as far as court cases go, too.
No, you can certainly go about doing what you do. I'm just saying, like, when, like I said, if you were to ask me, I would have to put in a astronomical amount of research before even pressing a retweet, let alone making a video about something.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of time and effort and research to make sure that I don't do something wrong sometimes exceeds the amount and time I actually even have.
I understand that, but here's the thing. You're going on about what you would do and what you are concerned with in that. Yeah. And I understand that. That is your value system. That's you. That's good.
And just so you know, I have helped in the past, like with this type of thing. Especially with the Toon Critic situation where it was very cut and dry. I think me and FNGR have talked about a few other cases that I don't know if I should bring up.
Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Fluffle Mixer thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and go ahead. And I'm yeah. Let's any clarification on that one. I'm super happy to talk about. I mean, and at the time, and just to clarify on that one, at the time, like I mainly wanted to remain anonymous because I hadn't quite cleared everything with one of my friends yet. I didn't want to implicate him immediately, though it eventually came around to him rather quickly. And the other one was I didn't want to feel like I was doing that. Like, I didn't want to feel like I was following a trend of someone who like got notoriety because he was exposing another pedo. Like I wasn't. I wanted to make. I did that kind of as a statement to make sure that people didn't think I was doing that for that reason.
Yeah,
okay?
But like, okay, so we got the Fluffle Mixer guy, right? And even right now, the evidence against him is pretty damning, but it's not necessarily a smoking gun yet.
I don't feel I was
the-
completely unreasonable with him. All he had to say, which I was more than reasonable.
No, you're not being unreasonable, right?
Yeah, it's very simple. All you have to do is come out and saying, I don't know Bayfish. She's some crazy fan. Clarify. Say something. Say yes or no. Do you know this person? Did you date this person? Give me a series of Y's or N's, and that could be it. I mean, unfortunately,
don't get me wrong.
if you
I do feel like someone like me definitely should do a follow up on that. But my main point here is that even right now, even with him shutting his mouth and putting a foot in there, there could be.
He
a reason
actually
for that.
did a test stream a few nights ago.
What if he what if he's scared that if he I'm just gonna give hypothetical devil's advocate. I don't necessarily believe this is the case, but let's say he's putting a foot in his mouth because he's afraid that if he does talk about it and he knows he's completely innocent, but if he does talk about it, it's gonna put a magnifying glass on that whole situation, and then there's gonna be those people out there who don't believe him because, well, I mean.
Okay.
Why would she lie? And
all right. I can.
Plenty of reasons, dude. Plenty of reasons.
Yeah.
I don't.
You're a little
don't
high, by the way,
believe
Brony
this.
Inspector. But
Okay.
yeah.
I just so you know, I don't believe this to be the case personally.
Wait, you mean like
But
my audio?
Yeah. You're peeking.
You know, people make stupid decisions when under stress.
No. Here's again, and I'm trying to reach out and say, look, I don't hate the guy. I don't hate his content. It would make me elated to go. I'm sorry to have had to ask that. And then be like, okay, it's cool. He's not any of that. I'm sorry about some of
the bow everyone would love to put on this package is Mixer Mike, great dude. Yeah,
Yes.
wouldn't that be great? But he won't say anything.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't believe that exercise. That's just a hypothetical. Let's just say somehow he is able to explain everything, but because he's a large YouTuber, he's putting a foot in his mouth because he doesn't want to put a huge spotlight on it. And if that was the case, and I personally made a video or made a tweet that got thousands and thousands of tweets, and the guy was innocent all along, that's something that could ruin his life, and that's something to think about, before you press that button.
Going back to what we were discussing as far as we do things, even with the one instance where we goofed, we were still in the middle of looking into that. We had literally just started doing so. So him coming on to call was part of that. However, it is something we have discussed. And no, nobody here wants to sit there and throw an accusation like that at somebody who we do not have at least some solid evidence on, which is something that we tend to have. And again, I'm not asking for anybody to be the judge, jury, executioner. What we tend to ask is when we have evidence like this and it's verified and it's sound and it's based on reality and facts and not just I heard, just let people know so they know to avoid these people in general. We're not asking for anybody to go chase after these people. That's why we report them to whatever law enforcement we can. We're just asking you to let these people know, these people under your umbrella here, this person's a predator, avoid them.
Or if you don't like some of the wording of some of the videos, maybe in Ty's case, he could, soften the blow and be like, until things are cleared up, I would probably encourage people to put a healthy distance between such and such. Just better safe than sorry. Not that I'm
Which is not a...
Yeah.
Well, again, I think it's not a bad idea to be naming names, and I think we've talked about this before in chat.
Well, I think that starting to think about individuals too much on this is going to take away from what the goal is, which is to make
I also do want you guys to know
aware that it is engaging in engaging in safety within the fandom itself, and it's willing to name, these people are willing to name names, and that regardless of outcomes, we are in an environment where people are watching each other.
Well, again, there's also something here, and I brought this up with Brony Inspector, I brought this up with Anthony, but since everybody else here, let me be very clear here. The people we're finding aren't hidden away. They're out in the open. They're comfortable in this community. And again, I'm not a Brony. I'm an outsider here, and I'm able to find them. that means they've been comfortable here for a very long time. There are very fat, happy ticks living on the outside of the skin of your community because they don't feel like there's
No
any
one's
reason to hide
calling them
themselves.
out. They think they're not gonna be ever put in check for any of their bullshit because they're like, oh, I'm just part of this fringe group where surely I'll be able to get away with my disgusting behavior.
When
they believe this. They believe this because this is consistent with the environment that they are in.
And more importantly, even after all the information spread last week about Kippy and friends, right? Go look at his Twitter. He's still active.
I don't know who Kippy is.
Nor do I. Sorry.
Kippy is a person on the video that I made last week. Kippy and friends, MLP lover, CDR Tempest.
Yeah, that's what my whole point was. The video that Leo did was short, quick, to the point. I was a bit concerned when he name dropped, but about a day later, hateful in the chat there. Actually, I believe between Leo and him, they both were able to verify the name fairly consistently. So I was like, okay, I'm prepared to move forward with this, and I was mostly confused. Well, again, I tried talking to you, Ty. What would need to be changed here? And then basically you're like, well, I'd rather do like an open discussion. So, all right.
Well, this is where I was trying to say, where it's like, you can name names. I think that certainly has its value, at least sort of in the smaller communities that these people inhabit. But I think the problem is that, people can change their names online, right? I think we've seen this now a bit with Toon Critic, where he's coming around with different accounts, different names, at least from what I've heard. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
Right, and these have been consistently brought to the attention of the fandom,
which is good.
Yeah.
Which is good, but I think the problem is that, how are we finding out about these people? It's from people speaking up, right? Which is what I want to see more of. So I think the focus, while naming names is fine and it's okay, I think it's a good thing to keep people in the short term aware and, at least cognizant of their surroundings and who they're talking to.
You have to have both.
The important thing is to have that education, let people know, look, you can speak up, you can ban people, you can talk about it, don't be, find ways to make yourself not the victim, essentially.
Your mic is crackling a lot.
I'm sorry.
Oh, how did is my level back
You're perfect.
on point?
You're
by the
great
way?
right now.
No, you're fine.
No, but there's a lot more that goes into that, and part of the problem is, well, I'm just gonna have to be blunt here, and I'm not trying to be vicious when I say so, but one thing a lot of people, because you guys are younger and you guys kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of grew up in this community, I don't think you guys quite understand how many actual children are out there in your community. You might have a tangential understanding, but I don't think you really understand as far as numbers go. So when you guys talk about big boy things and you don't make an understanding that there might be children in your servers, that can look very bad either way. And more importantly, it allows these people to have an open area to where they can be predators on these kids. There are easy ways to fix this, and doing videos about internet safety is all well and good, but you yourself have to follow it too. If you have a Discord server where people ERP, you need to make sure things locked down. If you have a Discord server that mostly has people in their 20s and 30s, you probably shouldn't let 13-year-olds in. This is the type of stuff
exactly.
This is the type of stuff I've been running around.
Leo, I can actually kind of expand upon this because I have a Discord server with I think over 700 people now, and I think a month ago I got rid of the NSFW art room mainly because I don't like. I'm not a prude.
Sounds like a liability for you. I would never have something.
I'm not going to sound like a prude here, but I made the room.
You have a younger audience, and you have a responsibility to them.
Okay, I'm going to explain myself here a bit here. I had the room originally because I'm a horror content creator. So when people, I wanted to separate the art that has, bloody killers and all that stuff from the cutesy shit of
gory art from spooky art.
Yeah, because believe it or not, people in the horror community tend to draw things from the horror community. Go figure, right?
Yes.
But then a little bit after the server started to blow up a little bit, people started posting a lot of porn, and I kind of was aware that I did have underage people in my thing. And at first, I was like, okay,
ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Yeah. At first, I was like, okay, the room is labeled NSFW, it's fine, they're not good. But then I had to think on it for a few more days, and I'm like, no. I've been a child. Do you think that the fucking "are you 18 years of or older" thing is going to stop me? Especially when you on Discord, where Discord doesn't even ask your age, so you don't have to put in a fake age to get over that. It's a click of a button, right? So unless if you're honestly, in my opinion, unless if you're letting 18 and over into your server, or like let's say you're from a country where it like the ages are different or whatever, you're just following your own country's laws, whatever your country's age of adulthood is.
Consent.
No, consent is different.
Oh, okay.
But the age where you're considered an adult, you're gonna want to. You're gonna want to just like make sure that everyone, like, you might want to make a thing like saying you can't join the server unless you're 18 or older, and then employ some strict guidelines where if it's found out that you're not 18 years or older, you're just gonna get banned. Like, and the thing is that no matter what you do, people are gonna lie about their age. You know, people are gonna. But you know what? I'd much rather have a kid doing like ERP pretending to be an adult than a kid openly being a kid and also ERPing, because like at least then the expectation from the other individual is that they aren't a child. Not saying that it's better. I'm just okay. I am saying.
I would stop you right there.
Yeah.
Listen, it turns the what I'm trying to say is that it changes the atmosphere of the place, from a place where you could find kids to a place where kids aren't supposed to be there, and people who would take advantage of them are likely going to go elsewhere where the pickings are a bit easier.
Yeah, that's not wrong. But
do I feel like kids should change? Pretend? No, I don't. I don't think that.
Parents they're
going to do it anyway. You only can just account for the best. You only can account for like what you can do on your side. You only can provide a atmosphere where these kinds of people aren't welcome, where people understand the stakes in play. And you know what? Eventually, those kids are probably going to out themselves anyway.
Yeah.
And
also,
at that point, you just ban them.
Also, Sheldon makes a very, very valid point here. And here's part of the issue when it comes to talking about online safety, right? If you either don't take your own advice or you don't know what you're talking about, it can crumble on you very quickly. And something Sheldon's pointing out here is make sure you put all of your personal information in your DA journals. And he's right. He's saying that facetiously, but he's right. I've seen a lot of people within your community that just all but tell you where they live on whatever DeviantArt they use. And that's got to stop, guys. It's got to stop.
You got to make yourself a tougher target than that. Jeez, you're just yeah. Ugh.
When it comes to internet safety, especially if you're a kid, the first thing you don't want to do, you don't want to post or tell anybody your real name. You don't want to link whatever your screen name is to your real profile. You want to make sure if you have a Facebook that it's locked down and that you don't share imagery with Facebook that you do on other platforms. That's really easy, a real easy way to find some of you people. And unfortunately, I've seen this even among the adults in your community. They don't pay attention to where they're putting their information, and things will go and can go very badly because of that.
Yeah.
The thing is, a lot of people think that when it comes to finding somebody, or as they say in the internet terms, doxing someone, that it takes a lot of really high-tech equipment. No, most of the time it just takes knowing your name. Not even that. Just all it takes is knowing your name and what city and state you live in, and you can find it on the white pages. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah,
People
it's
don't
very easy, for sure.
People don't pay attention, and they need to, and not just kids, but also people with these large subscriber accounts. The last thing I think Creepy wants is some crazed fan showing up at his doorstep.
Why I chose to dox myself.
I've never made any attempt to like. I generally don't share things like my personal address and shit like that. So we're cool on that.
Well, my
point.
That's not the point. The point wasn't like for you specifically. It was.
I know. I never made an attempt to like.
No, but I think the point is though, it's
I
very
also
easy.
don't practice stuff because I mean, like, you know, if a crazy fan comes to my door, you know, I got a gun, so don't.
But more importantly, like, it goes a little bit deeper than that, and I've even had other people, smaller people, but people nonetheless within the Brony analysis community, ask me to do what I know how to do to make sure their information's safe. And thankfully, I was able to help them lock down their information better. But there are people out there who just put it out everywhere. So if you're gonna talk about these things, you got to know what to look for and how to lock things down properly. You got to make sure your email address is locked down right. You got to make sure your personal information is. You got to make sure your address isn't out there on God knows what, because it could be anything. And they can find you via your PayPal. They can find you via DeviantArt or Twitter or back in the day LiveJournal. All these other things, and you got to learn how to lock these things down.
I had
another good safety tip.
I had my social security number as my background image on LiveJournal. Oh, those were the days.
My Twitter handle is my social security card number.
Yeah.
But one thing I do want to say, there's a few things here. Our good safety tip is that a lot of these people here, right? The people who go after children online nowadays, they aren't what people thought they were back in the day, where you'd go into an online chat room and then he'd figure out where you live and then they show up and kidnap you, right? That's not necessarily
like this long game orbiter crap. That's of course.
Yeah, it's nowadays it's more of a grooming test, if you know what I mean, where they try to establish a relationship with you, where they try to get you more comfortable with the idea of you leaving your home, getting out of your safe place. The best thing you can do is not talk to them. Like it's weird to think that the safest thing you can do on the internet is just gauge who you're talking with and, you know, avoid them as you see it, you know, as you judge, you know. And these people, these manipulative people who are trying to constantly get you out of your comfort zone, the best way to get them to leave you alone is like simply just to block them and stuff like that. Because, like, you know, they can find you all day, but who the like let's be real here. Let's say you're a pedophile, right? How much easier would it be to go to a random neighborhood, find some fucking kids playing on the sidewalk, and just pick them up? Like, there's no trail at that point, you know? You pick them up and you go. Versus finding someone on the internet, leaving a long trail of chat logs, and then figuring out where they live using some internet wizardry and then picking them up. Like, it's no, they want to pretend to have a relationship with someone. And they manipulate kids into manipulate kids so that they can convince themselves that there's a relationship there, even though there isn't.
No, yes, that's the if the minor consents logic that they all pull that one out of their ass. Yeah, of course.
You know, because
even with all that information and all that, there are things that kids do need to understand here, and so do you guys in general. And Dulcet Tone, I saw him making a comment about owing me a pizza in the chat. Dulcet, hate to tell you this, buddy, but your information's way out there, and you got kids. You should really buckle down on that. Just not even playing with you right now. That's an issue. And if you haven't fixed that, I don't know what to tell you. But more importantly, here's how they're going to operate, right? They want to get you to RP with them. Dude, anybody who's in your community, save RPing for Friday nights on Dungeons and Dragons. Doing it online.
You better have a DM. Yeah, you better have a DM.
Even just ignoring the whole cringe aspect of it, right? It's not something you should be doing online to begin with, because number one, it can get you into a lot of trouble, and number two, you never really know who you're dealing with there. And it can easily move into ERP if the kid's not paying attention, or if the kid's just out there and he's like a horny 13-year-old or whatever. Ugh. But the thing is,
man, I was hoping we'd get through this stream without saying horny 13-year-old.
Too bad.
Oh, well.
Anyways, the important thing is, unfortunately, this community has made itself a hub to where all these things are common, to where I'll even get into just regular conversations that people start randomly role-playing out of nowhere, and like, you got to knock that off. I'm in my mid-30s. I don't have time for this. But it's something that these kids have been conditioned that they think it's okay, and that it leads into other things, and it's beyond the pale. It's got to stop, guys. It's got to stop.
Well, how do you get the message to these kids then? How do you give them?
You tell them to knock it off.
Tell them.
Okay, you tell them to knock it off.
Well,
you're just on an individual basis.
Silver Spoon in the chat. I have to read this.
Go ahead.
People saying Toon don't deserve forgiveness are only people who aren't Christians would say that.
whatever. But anyways,
Which,
well,
sorry.
More importantly, back to
no.
back-
I got. Ty had a point there. What was it? One more
Sorry,
time,
excuse
Ty?
me.
Yeah, I lost.
Well, I think just from what I said, if this is what you're referring to, it's how do you get this message out to everybody? Then?
Okay, so let me give you a little advice there, Ty. There's two ways of doing this.
Yeah.
I think you should, one, and you don't have to listen to me, but I do have a counter example in the furry fandom. There's some guy named Cathorax in there who's just like withdrew because he's terrified of like his fans coming up to him and trying to start our ERP. Just be like, no, I'm not interested. That's what I would tell. Yeah, every content creator out there would be like, no, I'm not interested. Say that right. That'd be covers it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had experiences where people have tried to start like relationships with me online multiple times, and every time it's like, I think to myself, every time someone comes up to me and is like, hey, you want to be more than friends? It's like, clearly you're like, either one, you're a deranged adult, or two, you're a kid and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
My response is always,
there's no way there's any deranged adults in your audience, Creepy.
It's true. He speaks truth.
Especially ones that aren't aquatic in any way, shape, or form. Anyways, moving on.
But the thing is that it's happened, and honestly, like, there is a responsibility at that point. There is a responsibility on the content creator to be like, to kind of educate them a little bit, like, no, and you shouldn't be doing this. Here's the reasons why, and then like a reasonable block should probably be in place. But I guess there are some content creators who are out there who aren't that responsible, who are willing to bend those rules. People who are, I guess, lonely, desperate, and fucked up enough to actually take that offer. And in the end, is like, me as a individual, even with a voice as loud as mine, which there are many louder voices than mine out there, that just I can't stop all of that. It's a general mentality. It's a mentality that people like fucking Logan Paul try to cultivate so that they can profit off of it. And in the end, I hate to say this, but I mean, that's a lot of the parents' responsibility to fix. And I don't know how we could get them. Like, I don't know if we should start educating parents, or like, maybe petitioning for a referendum in like schools that
that's what I was saying, right? That's what I was going to say. Like, it's got to start with the parents. It's got to start with, like, get the education out in the schools and whatnot, because I think a lot of the parents of kids these days, they didn't grow up with the internet, right? So this is all very foreign to them, very new to them. And I think they're not educated, so then the kids perhaps don't hear the warnings and whatnot, so then it ends up in this mess.
It's terrifying,
Mm-hmm.
And like, we could get mad at people for like not talking about it and all that stuff, and in the end they can probably make a difference by talking, but the overall issue is still gonna be there until we do something about this mentality that fucking pundits, like I said, Logan Paul, that's what he does. That's what people like them do.
Here's just a scenario I want to ask. Do you think that predators would feel as safe and cozy in hiding out within fandoms if they knew the biggest names in those fandoms were going to, at the very least, signal boost the type of people who call them?
Would I feel like they would be comfortable and cozy? No.
Would they? Do you think they would feel the same level of ability to get away with what they do right now, as we see?
Yes.
I don't.
I think that
I don't believe that either.
They wouldn't be as open as they are now, which is, like, kind of like a fucking middle finger to my face.
And that's so double-edged sword argument is what you're saying there. They would just hide their actions better.
Like, they would just be a bit more sneaky about it. And, like, I mean, I've seen YouTubers get away with it, like popular YouTubers who would be easily fucking called out by their friends if they had known. And those people were managed to hide it so well that they were able to do it for years, man.
But how do we know those people? I'm talking covering for them.
How do we know? Because like, why would?
I don't know.
There's no okay. We I can't. One.
We
I
have
just
no
can't
evidence. I'm
dispute-
asking you to disprove positive, but I'm just saying, like, that you think that this points to people not knowing when it could just as easily point to a culture of people looking the other way.
Either people are looking the other way, which I'm going. My general judgment tells me that. Okay, there's this recent situation. I forget what the YouTuber's name was. 17-year-old YouTuber who has 700 something thousand subscribers, and he appointed another smaller YouTuber, still pretty big, I think like 30 to 100,000 subscribers, to be a moderator in his chat. Using his moderator privileges, this man was able to convince 13 to 15-year-olds that he could get them connections within their community in exchange for things like nudes and all that stuff. The guy got away with it.
Who is this? That's
years.
disgusting. That is awful.
Yeah.
There's this video out there called exposing a YouTube predator. When I looked at it, it had like 70,000 views. And that's awful. But you know what? I mean, looking at the guy's responses to it, he like the moment he found out, the dude was kicked. He was kicked and banned from the server. He made like posts about it. He tried to warn people. Like he went out of his way to do it. But this fucker was able to do this for years at a time, and that's because they were being sneaky about it. And you know, if you're scared that you're gonna get caught, you're not gonna stop doing the thing that, you know, is gonna get you caught. You're gonna just be more sneaky about it. So I mean, I'm not gonna say that it's better to have them out in the open.
my response to that would be, but they would go be sneaky somewhere else. They wouldn't think that hiding out within the confines of a particular fandom would be a road to success. They could just go be a creep in some other capacity, and they wouldn't think, oh, good, an online fandom. Those are often used for fucking.
No,
creep.
they could just they'd probably just not be as open about it and just keep it to DMs instead of being openly like this. It's. I honestly, like, it's just, it's not like I don't think that they, in my personal opinion, I don't think that these people are necessarily coming to the fandom to necessarily get kids in general. Now, just so you, don't get me wrong, some of them are coming to this fandom specifically for kids, all right? I'm not going to discount that possibility. But what I will say is that these people are probably just people within the fandom who were already fucked up to begin with.
And this is the only social interaction that they have, and then thus these tendencies bleed over into the world in which they interact. Okay.
Exactly. I don't feel like like they would stop into Brony fandom just because Brony started calling them out more. I think they would just be a lot more sneaky about it.
I'm more thinking of furries when I refer to just a culture of looking the other way than I am bronies, particularly. I think bronies are a lot damn better about policing their fandom than a lot of fandoms out there. But even still, there's some gaps.
There's something to be said about the brony fandom too, because there is a fundamental difference between bronies and furries, and the furry community is what I'd like to say a lot more openly sexual. Now, don't get me wrong,
the adult aspects of the furry fandom are right on the surface. Yes.
So, like, under the surface for bronies, the adult aspects are there. The first thing, when you think furry, you're not going to think of the cutesy shit. You're going to think about the weirdo in the fucking mersuit who goes to the cons. Because that's what, like, comes up when you think. That's the forefront of it, and
so
because the fandom is inherently sexual, that is the main aspect about the fandom. And when kids go to that fandom, those kids are necessarily going there usually for the sexual aspects, because, like, I mean, let's face it, that's why most people are there.
I don't know. I would let's just base this on like sales. There's people buying plenty of stuff that is just completely regular, normal, safe for work art. I would say that the people who sell porn at furry conventions have to bring a lot more varied stuff to get consistent sales. That is to say, you can bring plenty of safe for work stuff and you'll be sold out by the weekend, and the porn dealer is going to go home with lots of prints he didn't sell. So no, I just don't think everyone is there for the sexy stuff. I really don't think that.
I don't think that. Okay, maybe I misrepresented what I said there. I don't think that everyone here is necessarily there for the sexy stuff. But I will say that compared to the Brony fandom, and all that stuff, there's a lot more people there for the sexual aspects. You could also make an argument. The reason why some of the non-sexy stuff sells more than the sexy stuff is because let's face it here. If you're gonna hang something in your wall,
okay,
and you want your parents to be able to come over.
Opposite thing applies in the Brony fandom. Vendors have to fight with conventions in order to even be allowed to sell NSFW stuff. So no, on the surface, yes, Bronies are way better at controlling this stuff than the furries will ever be. Obvious.
Right. I'm just saying, when you think furry, you generally think sexual. And if that's the general consensus, and you're a teenager, and your general consensus as a teenager is the sexual stuff, and you somehow find yourself attracted to that, and finding yourself entering in that community, using the safe for work, SFW stuff, to kind of explain it to your parents, but then using the NSFW stuff to
safe for work art is a gateway drug. That's right.
Yeah, you know, like it's and just so you know too, like when it comes to fandom, you're not gonna stop kids from joining fandoms. As much as I'd love to just pretend that kids will never use the internet until they're fucking 18 years old, because that would make my life so much easier.
You know what? Like,
that's not the case.
This isn't about.
I had a huge argument
to curtail like youth participation in a fandom. Fandoms should want that. That's how your fandom keeps going. This is about making sure that environment isn't considered a place where potential predators have a pass.
Right. And you know, it's mostly just like there's a lot of things that you as a content creator, as someone who has these servers, implementing harsh 18+ rules for servers is generally a given, I feel, unless if you're going to go through the effort of policing it and making sure that you're gonna fucking throw that hammer down hard when that hammer needs to go down. And there's stuff like that you can do. There's some stuff that you're not going to be able to fix. Like I said, like we said earlier, there are kids out there, and I hate to say this, but there are kids out there who are fucking horny, and I can't stop them from being fucking horny. And even though they don't know that they're being taken advantage of.
Creepy would know he's watched a bunch of religious videos to make fun of them and going, oh, if there only a way to stop teenage children from
only we could keep them from being so horny, all of our problems would be solved.
The thing. The reason why a lot of these people are so open about it is because, you know,
a magic
they don't go after a 15-year-old. A 15-year-old comes up to them. They make them feel
good. God.
Not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Thoughts
buddy.
and opinions of Creepy reading do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of the channel.
Oh God,
okay,
my acid
before you guys start interrupting
ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Before you start interrupting me, let me explain myself.
I know what you meant.
All right, I'm not trying to say that that is every case. I'm just trying to say that if you're a 15-year-old and you're looking for ERP, you're not going to give a shit about how old the other dude is. The older dude could make a fucking mistake and participate in that. Some other older dude may be looking for that, but the guy might, or the kid might lie, and then it could turn into something that gets pretty fucked up. The point is that we're not in a situation where kids are trying to protect themselves but failing. We're having a situation where kids are throwing themselves into the line of fucking fire because they don't know any fucking better.
Right.
And
so and then I would say
as lifeguards, but there's only so many nets that we can throw out.
That's the thing. You are passing the buck to the kid on that one. The only thing that can help is the fandom looking out for those kind of people and making it clear that they don't stand for it. That would keep those kind of people out of your Discord chat. But if they thought no one was going to call them out about it, well, hey, yeah, we're good to go. Just have fun. Have a field day out there, creeper.
That's why I will always make an argument for people like Anthony. We definitely do need people like Anthony, and if the situation calls for it, bigger people do need to get involved. I don't feel like taking a sledgehammer to every situation is necessarily the right way to go about it.
I disagree.
Drag him across the coals.
Mainly because if you take a sledgehammer to every situation and you fuck up, you know, like even if you don't intend to, even if the mistake was honest and it couldn't have been accounted by anybody, that 1% chance of fucking someone's life up because you chose to use the hammer instead of the scissors is something that needs to be up.
Yeah, patch it up later. Throw a little spackle on there.
But the thing is, if we were to apply that viewpoint to every single interaction that we have in reality, and I know your intention isn't to do so, then we would have to deal with our entire legal system. Simply because I'm pretty sure they imprison more than just 1% of whoever they have that is either accused or sentenced or whatever. So I'm always careful as much as I can be to make sure the information is correct. And that's why we don't do any more of these live streams.
In the legal system, we have a jury. We have
You
judges.
do have a jury.
We have a system. We have a system, right?
And you still have people that are incarcerated.
And you have people that are incarcerated, but you still have a system of checks and balances there to try to mitigate that. When it comes to the court of public opinion, you know, that's not there. There is no checks and balances. Sometimes it can literally just boil down to he said, she said.
One moment here. Sorry, don't mean to interrupt you, but hey, Ty had to go, guys. He had somewhere else to be. So.
Oh shit! I scared him off.
Yeah.
That was like
my bad.
Looney, you've been really quiet. Would you like to pipe in at all?
Not really. I don't have the full scope of what.
Well, we're basically just talking
discussed.
about fandom safety. I'm sure that you're a fairly critical person, and considering you're very critical of me, and I'm related to this topic, feel free to bust my balls.
I don't know what I want to say right now.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I think he might have an idea, but he can't form an opinion.
Anthony, do you mind if I bring somebody else in on this?
Oh, well, who?
I asked you in the chat.
Oh, let me look in the chat. Let's see.
Not the live chat.
Oh yeah. That's a good idea.
Oh, let me see.
Oh, you want to bring in Vita?
No,
not quite. You're in the ballpark.
Is he Canadian?
He is. Yes.
He's a Canadian. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I think I know who you're talking about. Is it Mr. Confidence himself?
It's the most confident man in the room.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Figure out how to do
I'm sorry,
this.
by the way, that I've been kind of dominating.
No, you're doing
It's
fine.
just
By the way,
something
tell
that
him
I've
not
been
to add
thinking
anybody else. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, great. Okay, now he's gonna do it.
Well, then we'll just fucking goddamn end it.
No, I would hope that the people he would normally add would understand why we're doing this and wouldn't do that.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
God, I would.
Yeah, no, we can-
Oh man.
Yeah.
We
Well, it's
could
on
just remove
Discord,
him.
so
How do I do this?
I got him if I need to. I suppose.
Ah, there it is. Add friends to DM.
Got it.
One.
Shelly D.
I had a feeling.
Add.
Of
There we
course.
go. I knew I'd talk to him sooner rather than later.
There he is.
Yeah, especially considering Sheldon actually has helped us quite a bit in a lot of these situations.
No, absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. He's on the right side of history in this department.
Hello?
That's for
Yes.
damn sure.
Hello,
Hey,
Sheldon.
Hello.
Hello.
Mr. Confidence is here. Where are all the hot women?
We haven't had Sheldon in court or Sheldon and fucking Looney in a call since the Looney.
Okay,
fucking-
Sheldon, there's a lot of hot women, but the problem is, dude, is that they're all underage, so you can't talk to them.
Oh, well, wait, so they're hot, but they're underage? Is
Wait,
that...
hold on, ladies and
They
gentlemen.
look a lot older than they are.
Walk it back. Walk it back.
We got him.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
They look a lot older than they are, man. They all have fake IDs. Just don't do it.
Okay, okay, what are we talking about? Internet safety.
Yes.
All right, rule number 1. Definitely engage with all the trolls, all right? That's a good idea.
Okay, I'm just gonna quickly
Make sure you engage with every troll you encounter. You'll get through to one of them
just
eventually.
say something here, guys.
Yeah.
We probably should keep
Yeah,
the
go ahead,
conversation
go ahead.
pretty serious.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you were brought in here for your opinion, I guess, because someone
About
gives
what?
a shit, I guess.
Well, the opinion about the general topic?
Yes. And your
Well-
thoughts about how best to deal with such situations.
Well, it really depends what we're talking about in terms of safety. Like, how broad is safety here exactly?
Basically, what you do on the internet, making sure people, number one, can't find you, and making sure you don't interact with people that want to fiddle faddle a kid's diddle daddle.
Yeah, well, okay, so, I mean, in terms of people determining personal information about you, I think the obvious answer here is don't try not to post that information anywhere, right? Even if like if you're doing transactions, right, on websites where that data might be findable by some people, right? I mean, you can order something online. You don't necessarily have to give them all truthful information. It really depends, though, on who you're buying from. But even something like that you think might be secure might not be as secure as you think. So if you can get away with putting down false information, I mean, obviously, if you're shipping something to a house and it's your house, maybe get a PO box, right? Like, don't put in your actual address.
Yeah.
Try not to use your actual name.
I don't think a teenager's gonna have access to a PO box.
Well, it's not even just applicable to teenagers. I mean, this is applicable to adults too, right? I mean,
Yeah. But I'm just gonna go out on a limb here that adults understand what they're getting into when they go on the internet and understand that they can get fucked.
You would be very surprised to see what we ran into then.
Trust me, I know. I'm just saying that at that point, it's on the fucking adults issue. It's on the
Let's
adults.
suspend our disbelief on
I
this
mean,
one. Yeah.
They've had the
that's fine, but,
opportunity to
you know,
learn,
I don't know.
educate.
I mean, I'm not going to get into this. I don't want to get into some philosophical discussion about, you know, can a kid consent to certain things? You know, I don't want to.
No, I don't think they can. So let's just leave it at that.
I mean, do we agree with that?
Yeah, it's the legal truth.
Yeah.
Kids can't consent because they're stupid.
Well, more importantly, we're
mouth breathing idiots.
We're looking at, you know, the consequences and possible blowback for reporting these people to the general public. I think it's something that Creepy Reading was speaking
All the
about
kids
earlier.
in Springfield are a bunch of SOBs. You
No,
pulled
no.
a Gabbo, Creepy.
Oh my god. Hold on. Sheldon, what we're discussing in general when it comes to online safety as far as kids go, we're also discussing whether it's a good idea to name and shame these people or worry about whether or not we're getting our information wrong.
Well, I mean, it's good insofar as you're being accurate, right?
There's nothing wrong with opening up the investigation, and there's nothing wrong with calling people out if you feel like you have the, the ability to do so.
I would caution making statements of fact.
But
like
I said,
well, if you have some suspicion that somebody might be engaging in some kind of pedophilic activity, but you're not really sure, and there's another problem with this where the person who might be making that accusation doesn't maybe have a full understanding of, what would qualify as knowledge, and should I claim that it is true in the public space, right? That's a separate issue. I mean, if you're dumb and you're doing that, I don't know what to tell you, right? I don't know how to help you in that. But,
not to distract you, Sheldon. How's that one video coming, by the by? Is that up yet, or?
Oh, it's done rendering. I'll upload.
Holy shit, Shelly, you got almost 6,000 subs.
I do. 6,000 dead subscribers. It's great. It's
Well,
Yeah,
I think 1,000 of them are active.
I just recently reached 1,000
Listen,
myself.
man. You're 5,000 subscribers bigger than Vita.
It's true.
When you're in his server, you're the big dick in the room.
Okay.
Don't forget that.
Clearly, it's very important. It's very important for me to know that. Thank you.
That's, I'm sure Shelly.
Well, hold on. What was I talking about?
I'm being a dick, but don't worry,
now
Vita.
I'm
I
lost.
love you.
Now I'm lost. So, what the fuck were we talking about, guys?
You're the topic, Sheldon.
We were talking-
We're talking about you.
Before I went on this retarded.
No, hold on. You were talking about opening the investigation on them people, making sure you don't
Yeah,
make
yeah,
statements
okay.
of fact.
Okay, so it's tough because, look, if you don't have all the information, if you don't feel as though you have a sufficient amount of data to make a claim of fact, then don't make a claim of fact.
Absolutely.
Right? You can word it as though it's a suspicion or it's a possibility, right? But I wouldn't I wouldn't go out there claiming that something is in fact true because of this anecdotal account or whatever. That's probably not a good fucking idea, and that might backfire on you, and it might also affect that person who you're accusing in a negative way. Obviously,
Correct.
right? So, but then the question becomes, well, how do you educate people on how to gather information? Like, it's also tough too, because even with a screenshot, right? A screenshot can be modified.
Yeah.
You're not
Oh,
necessarily.
we had plenty of experience with that.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes the screenshot, as genuine as it might look, is not genuine.
Yeah, either
Right.
someone's just passing fake information. You know what? And the one time that happened, it took a few hours, but we figured that out. That didn't escape us the one time that happened, I would say.
I mean, I would just say, if you're gonna go around, trying to accuse people of something, it's on you. And I would say even if you're a kid doing it, it's still your responsibility to some degree. And if something bad happens,
Any super sleuths out there, don't put your ass on the line too
Well-
much for this crap.
well, it's like you're taking the risk, so you're going to reap the consequences. So just keep that in mind, right? Remember.
Tray tables up in the fully up and locked position.
Give me all your credit card numbers. You can hire me. I'll protect you from internet trolls. All right, just pass them on by.
It's part of his Patreon.
Yes.
So second tier, if you
I was thinking $10 minimal.
get $10. $10, Shelly will protect all your credit card numbers.
Indeed.
From everybody else but him.
Yes.
There's just a lot of potential for like harm. Like you want to like throw some legitimate shade that I feel like that something needs to be like raised somewhat. Okay, FNGR.
Yes.
Am I allowed to talk about Artie?
Who's Artie?
You know, that guy selling art
Which one?
to 16-year-olds.
Oh!
Yeah. Him.
Wait, who?
Yeah, go ahead, Leo, remind me what happened with that. Oh, yeah, no, freaking Andrea Dash.
Andrew. Yeah, sorry, I don't know his name because he's a fan.
Mine like a steel trap.
When
this
you said
one.
Artie, I was picturing some fat guy
I was
on
like,
Howard
what,
Stern's.
10 art? He tried to sell NSFW art to underage
Okay, so
people, but
here's a
Donkey
very
Mafia
confusing.
took care of that one.
Here's a very confusing situation that needs to be taken into consideration, right? Okay, so there's this guy called what's his name again? Pronounce the name. Andrew Dash.
Andre Dash.
Yeah, Andrea Dash.
Andrew Dash, whatever. This individual apparently sold art to NSFW art to a 16-year-old, right? 16, not
Yeah,
15, not 4. All right, so 16-year-old. Now your knee-jerk reaction is, "Oh, that's illegal," but like, in some states the law hasn't caught up, and generally speaking, it's a lot of work for a minor crime to be proven that a lot of governments aren't willing to prosecute, effectively making
does that change whether they did it or not? Like, I don't care whether the guy gets arrested for it or not.
Oh, no.
The
The guy
fandom needs
doesn't-
to know they're a piece of shit for doing it.
Oh, definitely. I'm in agreement with you there. I'm just saying that it's technically in some
Technically,
areas.
he's the fucking scumbag. Yeah, I get it.
And technically, in some areas, it's not illegal, which means that if you started calling the dude a pedophile,
right? Then that calls to how fucking bankrupt whatever state they lives in government is. Just
yeah. But if you start calling him a pedophile and he's doing it from a place where it's not illegal, that's defamation.
No, I don't, and
Yeah,
I don't typically try to throw terminology around. I just like to say what specifically people did. Okay.
Yeah, I know, but
Which is when you're
people
doing
need to
that.
consider.
When you're doing that, what's the actual implication when you're like, I'm not calling you this or that. I'm saying what the
hold on.
accounts of what you did are.
Well, with defamation, you don't necessarily have to explicitly say someone's a pedo, right? Like you can imply it strong enough, even if you don't use the word pedophile, that you could in fact initiate a defamation suit. right? From my understanding, anyways.
Okay, just so you know, man. Just so you know, but this is the point I'm trying to come to. I am not trying to say that we shouldn't do anything about these people, because obviously we should. That's why I'm talking about the guy, right? But if I were to call the guy a pedo, it could be considered defamation. So when you're doing this, you gotta be careful with how you do it.
It is my opinion that this man is a scumbag.
That's literally why I never call people pedos. At least nowadays, I don't do
Scumbag's fine. Yeah.
I don't call.
I mean, according to Vita, FNGR is a goddamn pedo. You know.
Yeah. Well, we could talk about that.
But that's the
Not
problem.
that I don't agree.
Some of these people out there.
I remember correctly last time you were in the stream, Sheldon. You're like, I can't think of someone more safer. I have to question your idea of safe then.
I would trust you with I would trust you with my kids, Anthony.
No, I wouldn't want to babysit your kids, Brony.
No, I know, but I'm just saying. Just give them a CBD edible; they'll be fine.
I was just about to say your kids would be.
I wouldn't trust my kids around Anthony, because he'd forget they existed. They'd wander off.
Right?
Probably.
No, he would hand them a violent video game, and I'd be like, Anthony, it's the one thing I said: no violence. Oh, they were having fun with it.
Yeah.
They're bringing guns to schools, man. Come on. Anyway, there's people out there who are being the sleuths but aren't applying the tact that is required to do it.
Oh, right? I know. Oh, yes, that is very.
Basically, if you're retarded, don't fucking do it. But the problem is though that people who are retarded might not realize that they're too retarded to do it, and they'll do it anyway. You know.
Exactly. I don't know. I'm just trying to bring up a lot of things. I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm playing the bad guy as much as I.
You're a fucking terrible human being.
You're playing the part of Cthorix. You're being the fucking.
I'm playing the part of. By the way, I had a conversation with Cthorix, man. That guy.
Oh,
he's not interested. He thinks that the furry community just needs to be burned, and and the ashes need to be buried.
Yeah. I should probably try and lure him on Thursday's
show. The thing I don't think that individual understands is people. You can't stop people from being furries. You can't stop children from joining fandoms, and you can't stop kids from being stupid online, unless if you get the parents involved. Unless if you start introducing things like proper education, and that's something. And like everyone's been saying, prevention is the best form of preventing people from getting hurt. And I don't know, maybe it'd be a smart idea to start calling schools.
You heard it here.
Or start calling people's parents.
Oh, that was a Oh yeah,
if you know someone's parents and you know they're just doing stupid shit online, call their parents.
Call the school was a tactic we actually used in the past. Call the school, call the guidance counselor, tell them what's going on.
Yep.
There was a young lady who would not narc on her friend to her parents, who was engaging with an adult dude online, and one of the plans we came up with: call the school. That is a wonderful way to handle it, because it's a level of detachment that is in fact obligated by law to look into these things.
Correct. It is.
And it's hard. It's like I said, it's a hard situation, because it's a lot of it is kids throwing themselves.
Right. So what does that suggest? That suggests that the parents aren't really aware of what the kids are doing online. Let's shine a light on this, shall we?
Yeah, and another thing too is to consider is that even with my reach, I'm
okay. There is someone in your audience right now who is talking to a fucking overage dude online. I guarantee it. And they are only half aware of why what they're doing is potentially dangerous.
Yeah,
and that is a responsibility.
There's a whole generation gap, right, between the last generation and this generation. I know, obvious shit, but since there's that generational gap, there are still people who watch cable. There are still people who don't understand the YouTubes and the Facebooks. I guarantee you most parents don't even know what fucking Discord is. Other than that's the thing that my kid uses. And it's because of this lack of understanding and education that,
Discord, that's that video game my kid likes. Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, you could call them bad parents or whatever.
I'm cool, Dad. I know what video games my kid likes. It's that Discord. That's a good game he likes.
He plays the Discord all the time. Oh, look, Tarandega's playing 2K19.
He had to go. He had another thing he had to go to.
Oh, I mean, Creepy was talking. I mean, like, we had to fucking cut off the last stream, which wasn't going anywhere anyway, so...
This one's going good.
I understand. No, look, yeah, look. It's not Doc Out. There's a fucking what do you call it? Affirmative action to have one Canadian in the call at all times. We got one Canadian in the call.
We got one Canadian in the call. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Our stream is within spec. Okay. Good,
yes.
Good. Oh.
Jesus.
Canada needs our representation. We're Canadian.
I think we ran out of shit to talk about anyways, didn't we?
I mean, are we going in circles yet? Yeah. What's chat got to say? Anyone?
I couldn't think of a damn thing to say at this point. Shit.
Hey, if you got criticism for anything I said, I just...
Yeah, I feel like we've been on a roll. I was kind of hoping to get more higher...
On the main... Just the main points,
well,
I guess.
Again, here's what I wanted out of the stream. I wanted to get, like, some of the more higher-ups in the room or in the fandom come on if they had any complaints about myself or Leo. Exactly, point for point. Hey! And if you'd like to say this, in exchange for us not doing these things, what are you going to do?
Okay, I actually do have a little bit I can add to that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here right now talking,
yes.
right, about this stuff.
Yes.
And even as I'm talking right now, everything I'm saying can and likely will be used against me. I'm trying to do something like help children make sure that they don't...
Did you tweet to your audience that you're doing this stream?
Fuck yeah, I tweeted about it.
Yeah, then you're doing what you are doing the thing that you're supposed to.
Here's the problem, right? If I say one thing and I fuck up just one little thing in this live stream, right? Because I'm talking about a sensitive topic,
ladies and gentlemen,
that I'm no expert in. I'm no expert in. And even multiple times you guys said, like, oh, these don't represent our views, like, before I even had a chance to really clarify the point. I'm putting my neck on the line just so I can talk and hopefully help someone out there.
Your internet career is over. Better watch out.
I'm not gonna lie. This
bunch
is
of bronies just dethroned the great That Creepy reading.
I'm just a dude on the internet, right? I have my own personal experiences to draw from. I've stopped my own fair share of situations within my own Discord server. I've banned a few people. I've fucking went out of my way to make sure that this stuff isn't accessible to children. And you know what? I might not be doing the right thing because I'm only human with only so much knowledge available to me. I could say the wrong thing in the server and it could be held over my head for the rest of my life. So when like bigger people are hesitant to jump in, it's because it's absolutely fucking terrifying to do so. I mean, to the point where it's like every little word you say could potentially ruin your career. And you know what? Like when you look at it from that perspective,
they're very proud of their milquetoast views.
Here, let me be very. Hold on. Let me be very blunt here, as somebody who's going to have an opposing view here. If your entire life and job is revolved around YouTube and you have not built a secondary skill for when YouTube eventually does die, then you're an idiot to begin with.
Well, hold Leo. Let me take that one. That you could say that about people in Hollywood or TV.
Yes,
and I'm sure.
I would happily too.
But the thing is that it hasn't gone anywhere. That's one of those things. It's like, you in this new medium, and I'm like, it's been around.
Take it from someone whose fucking career ended. It's not that bad. Your life will go on. You'll be fine. I'm just saying, like, sticking your neck out for something you believe in is not the worst thing you can do. Losing your career is not the worst thing that will ever happen to you.
I know, but it's still something that can happen.
I'm just
And just so you guys are aware, it's something that can happen. I'm not trying to make a statement about YouTube as a job. What I'm trying to say is that, you know what, I enjoy being a YouTuber. I enjoy what I do, and I'd rather not have that taken away from me prematurely because
hold on.
Well, I have a point here I wanted to go from the stream, since I remember seeing this thing from Midnight Chimes, and I have a counter response to it where he's like, coming on a stream like this isn't going to ruin anyone's career. Well, I mean, there's this Sergen guy who started losing $9,000 a month because he said the wrong thing in someone else's stream. I don't know if that ruins someo's career, but whew.
Hold on.
I have a point. I have something to say though. All right, so I mean, I get your concern, but you know, at the same time, the probability here that you've said something so egregious that it's going to, like, I don't know, negatively affect your career to the degree that you're going to notice it and you're going to be bothered by it, and on top of that, you won't be able to correct the record, and on top of that, even if you come back, you know, with some other pseudonym, you're not going to be able to rebuild anything. It's pretty fucking low. I get that you're worried, but don't worry too much.
Yeah, I'm not worried. I'm not necessarily as worried as I make myself out to be. But what I'm trying to say is that when every word I say on my YouTube channel is scripted. It's something that I've thought long and hard about. It's something that, you know, I've put hours into crafting so that I cannot be misconstrued in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, don't worry, you will be.
Oh yeah, Twitter, no, I agree with Sheldon on that one.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like you're still gonna get misconstrued, but you know you wanna limit that to the lowest possible number.
Let me give you a better real life example from my own personal experience here. Okay, years ago, I worked for a company for the better part of a decade. And when I say better part, I don't mean 6 years. I mean 9+.
Like 11 years. Yeah.
Well, no, closer to 9.5. But
okay.
Hold on. Let me continue.
Excuse me.
This job, after I'd gotten a promotion, had started forcing me to break DOT law.
Could you explain?
Because my coworkers didn't want to do their jobs, and the management there had no backbone to tell them to do it, so they just threw it on me because I was the workhorse there. First thing they tried to do to me when I took it to DOT and I took it to safety was, number one, they increased my hours because they were trying to kill me, and then they terminated me. Do you think I regret reporting any of that or speaking my mind about it? You're out of your mind. I didn't regret any of it. The only thing I regret about any of that is the fact that I didn't take them to court over it.
I see what you're saying.
Hold on, let me finish. Okay. I'm not done yet.
I got next.
I had a year and a half between that job and the job I have now where I struggled with bills. My fiance at the time was able to help me out here on a lot of situations. I struggled financially. I struggled mentally. I still don't regret doing the right thing. I still don't regret reporting the things properly here. Don't worry about whether or not you're going to have a negative impact on your channel. You should be more concerned about whether or not you're doing the right thing.
I get what you're saying, Leo, and I completely understand. But, you know, a lot of people, people just don't want to speak up. I mean, look at the Harvey Weinstein thing where everybody's like, well, now I'm prepared. Now I'm going to talk about it. But there were so many people who just didn't. You know? It's a lot.
Haven't and won't.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. I have a giant fucking big mouth, right? That's not in dispute. That I have a hard time.
No.
Yeah,
you put your channel on being a retard.
Okay, but even still, where I'll point out and be like, I knew these certain things, obviously not the pedophilia about Toon, but I certainly had enough that I could have came forward about, where people are inclined, including myself, just to shut up about certain things. And I get it. And it's really hard to try and explain to people, well, this specific thing here, you should speak up here. People get really comfortable just not saying any fucking thing. It's
easier, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't claim the high horse and take the low road at the same time.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm going to say, and this may sound controversial, but like, you know, these content creators out there, while it probably would be more beneficial for them to like call certain people out when expected. It's just some of those people just don't have the time and energy to make sure that everything that they're getting is accurate, everything that they're saying is going to come across in the right way, and they're not going to end up hurting the wrong people. So in the end, I mean, technically speaking here, their only responsibility is to them and their specific fan base.
I get that
as long
too.
As
but again, it's one of those things, and I had this kind of clarified by Ty, and I was like, well, look, even before I talked to you to come on, I tapped your head moderator on the shoulder. Why not have it so, like, I don't know, one of your mods can take a look at what I'm suggesting and then be like, yeah, this is cool, you could tweet this out. I understand
Listen,
that
man,
yeah, I know that could still get you in trouble.
I love my mods, but some of them are dipshits.
Yeah.
I'll be your mod.
Yeah, no.
Well,
Look,
the problem is that you're a dipshit.
yeah, I'll be honest with you too. If I were one,
The punchline. Okay.
yeah, I'll be
Yes.
honest with you too. I probably would not be the right person to. I could, in the right position, kind of sort of give like sound bites for creepy, but I don't think that I'd be the right person to say what you should and shouldn't tweet. Ah, damn it! I said that out loud. Fuck. Yeah, no.
Like I made. Okay. I'm not gonna give you an example too. Right?
Yeah.
I made a tweet the other day, directed at another YouTuber I worked with in the past. I thought me and him were pretty cool and tight, right?
Yeah.
So the tweet read as like, "Hey, I want to work with this person. Should I get him in the next video? I have a gun. I can make him do it tonight." And then like I had the poll question,
boy.
like yes, no, why do you have a gun? No, seriously, why the fuck do you have a gun? You know, it was supposed to be a joke, right? But apparently the dude had. The guy had beef with me, right? And the joke didn't come across as a joke, and it came across as I was pressuring him to work with
You
me.
were like YouTube rappers having a beef or something.
I mean, at that point, it's like this guy's just an idiot that he didn't get it was a fucking joke.
Well,
right?
no, don't get me wrong. Apparently,
No, I'm sorry. That's
in the
clearly
past that he never brought up.
Clearly a fucking joke.
No. Apparently, what this was perceived as was creepy calling out beef that he was unaware of.
They thought you were.
Yeah.
They for some reason this person thought you were the equivalent of KP in the creepypasta community. They
Yeah,
thought-
exactly. And I figured, you know, like I was like, yeah, I could work with this guy again because he was pretty cool last time I worked with him, but I didn't know. And
What was
I
his
don't think we were
problem
on
with
call.
you, by the way?
I'm not gonna go too much into it, but basically, I wasn't happy with our last collaboration. And I'll leave it at that.
I'll put it. I won't go into specifics either. By listen to the guy, he's a weenus. You have nothing to worry about.
Okay, no, yeah.
And here I thought he was an anti-Mummite.
But you know, like it's just like you know these when you're on Twitter, you know, with the limited character space, you know, and without being able to say it. You don't have the tone, you don't have the inflections, you don't have the room to say what needs to be said.
It's a lot better than it used to be. I'll tell you that right now.
Being better doesn't make it good.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I guess
at least you're not Anthony on there trying to talk.
Listen, guys, if it's
Toon
one
Critic being
thing,
out of the fandom is better, but him still not being in prison isn't good.
if it's one thing that Microsoft knows, it's how to make fantastic software. Let's just all agree.
All right, now Sheldon was trying to say something.
Go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say. I don't fucking.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just like, you know, in the end, if a bigger person wants to be quiet, and as long as they're managing their own community, like they're keeping their own space safe and they're keeping their little circle fine, you know, I understand why they might be unwilling, unable, or just generally speaking, not consider themselves qualified enough to speak up on such issues.
Yeah, I actually kind of agree that I don't think these big.
They have no
podcasters
responsibility
are-
to do that.
Oh,
And
yeah,
like,
I
you
don't
know,
think- I
like
don't
I
think
don't see
they're
Blue's
obliged-
Clues
Hold
going
on,
out there.
Hold on. I don't think they're obliged to say anything about this shit. I don't think they have to. I don't think there's any like responsibility there. And if you want to ascribe responsibility to them, you can, but you should acknowledge that that's just you ascribing your preferences to them.
And
Well, I mean, them being obliged to versus. Okay, I don't think anyone's
What?
suggesting that they have an obligation.
I do.
I think that what the shocking element here is that
Okay, a
none of them
responsibility,
feel
is that better?
personally responsible. Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
well,
okay,
I don't
let me.
think they have a
I could give a great example of this, right? Toon Critic, right? We know Toon Critic. He was ousted of that community. I don't care how. We're not going to go into how it was handled or how badly that happened. But in the end, Toon Critic was ousted of that group. that would be considered their backyard. That's where you start holding people accountable.
Okay,
But,
so yeah, a convention finds out that there's a pedophile who registered, and you or just someone accused, and you just said nope, too high liability, nix him, get him out of here. We're the Brony fandom, we police ourselves. Like this creates a culture where people who are engaging in this kind of stuff start feeling like they're not going to get away with it. Once again, I think that bronies, when you try to use them like as an example for a fandom, they're actually better about it than a lot of fandoms.
And like if let's say that Andrew Dash person, right, tried to work with someone like Josh Scorcher, fucking call out Josh Scorcher and yell at him for promoting a dude who has unethical business practices.
No, all right, let me give you an example. That's good. You opened the door for this one. Let's say Andrew Dash came to Josh Scorcher and said, "Hey, I need a job." And Josh Scorcher didn't say, "You'll never guess who knocked on my door yesterday. Y'all better look out for this creep." I think that he would, with just that passive connection to that person, not be doing the responsible thing by saying nothing.
Like I said,
I told him no, and I told him that he has no place in this fandom. Like, that would be the responsible thing to do at that point. Do you think, and like, I'm not saying like, what do you think he would? I'm just saying, like, for an example, that's how I would see a scenario like that playing out in our ideal world.
If Josh Scorcher was actively hiring Andrew Dash and doing something with his own influence to help boost the influence of someone who supports unethical business practices like selling porn to children, right? That's when you hold people like Josh Scorcher accountable. When it's just like Andrew Dash is a artist in the My Little Pony community, it's not Josh. I know I keep using Josh Scorcher, but his name is the funnest to say, so I'm gonna keep using it.
It's a good stand-in for random horse famous dude.
It's like he's not responsible for figuring out who this guy is, learning exactly what happened, going into the nuanced details, and then spending a couple of nights crafting a statement about the dude so that people know to be away from him. It's like we a lot of us came here to make videos and entertain people, not necessarily become Chris Hansen's.
No, Chris Hansen's like, I would say that if you're,
Okay, wait. Let me hit you with a counter there. Let's
let's
talk about musicians, for example. Let's say you blew up finally big. You get in front of the news media. Someone's going to ask you about R. Kelly, and you better have an answer. Whether you have nothing to do with him or not.
Yeah, whether you had nothing to do with it or not. You are now a music industry insider.
Example. That goes back to the Toon Critic example. Toon Critic was a part of the analysis community. And as a result, he was the analysis community's problem. And as a result, even though it did take a while, they did boot him out.
So you're feeling that as a name is, say, public enough and the information has been available long enough, it becomes more viable if someone brings up that name that they're after a while expected to have an opinion. Like, say,
I think that
the example I would
the
example I specifically would point to would be Flufflepuff. Big enough, out there enough, the information's been floating around enough, long enough.
I'm more talking about sub communities in specific here. So yeah, Flufflepuff, who's big enough and has been floating around enough, but he has nothing to do with My Little Pony analysis.
Okay, but let's say we're using Toon as an example. Instead of using Toon, let's say we're using Mixer Mike. Like that's a good alternate
if
parenthetical
Josh Scorcher was
example.
working with Flufflepuff, then you got something.
Let's forget about Flufflepuff. What about the people close to Mike? Why didn't anything ever come out?
Those people were doing a disservice.
Why didn't anything come out?
No, I mean that. People knew about that.
Well,
no one ever said anything.
I'm not familiar with it.
Well, there were how many other people were there, Brony Inspector? Since you were like face to face.
Well, I know that at least.
About 5.
I know at least 2 of the. Yeah, there were 6 people at the lunch. I knew at least 3 of them there knew previously what had been going on.
And
what had been going on?
Mixer Mike was dating an underage girl.
So they knew, and so you're saying because they knew, they should have ostracized him.
No, they at least said something about it.
Like,
Right.
I feel like it's.
No,
I feel like it should
Sheldon
be
was
like
about
left
to
to
say
the
something here. Let's
sub-communities.
hear that. What were you about to say,
All right.
Sheldon?
I mean, I don't disagree personally, but I know that people like I can sit here and like say, yeah, they should have done that, but it ain't gonna change it. Like they still have their preferences, and it's not even necessarily
No,
that like
I was like, no, I was the only person who changed it, who ever found out about it. Yes, I know. I'm aware of that, Shelly.
you put it out there
Yeah.
basically.
No, I
Yeah,
remember
okay,
very
but-
specifically freaking the part
Like-
in the recording where Bayfish goes, well, apparently you're the only person here who has a problem with this.
Yeah.
So hold on a second here. Creepy. So what's the argument though? I'm a little bit lost here. We're getting lost. With all these examples.
There
What's the
recently
primary
was
claim
a
here?
situation, right, where LioConvoy called out the wrong community to call out this dude that he talked about.
I disagree.
So you did.
Well, explain it to me.
There's this dude in the animation community that Leo called out, and then he specifically
what?
called upon the Brony analysis community to deal with them. The thing is that the Brony analysis community don't know anything about the animation community. The audiences are fundamentally different, even though there is some cross section in that Venn diagram. And in the end, it would be more beneficial to have a community figure from that sub community do the legwork than it would be to have someone from a somewhat related community. Like, it's just because you're
Well,
a Brony
yeah, I
doesn't mean you have the authority to talk on all things Brony, right?
Sure, like here's the thing about that. Like I don't disagree that you're probably more likely to get a result you're looking for if you direct the attention at the group that you're talking about, right? Regarding the individual. But at the same time, I mean, what this really is a error of direction. And even if you guide it at the Brony community, I mean, maybe one of those people might say something. I mean, I don't even disagree that if if some furry did something and then you go to the anime people and you go, yeah, guys, that guy did this. Most of them are going to be like, well, I guess it depends on what the guy did too. If it's egregious enough, they'll step over the boundary.
It's just like you want to have the right people for the right job, and like in the end, it's not the Brony analysis's community. It's not the Brony analysis's job to make sure that the animation community is being up to snuff. It's their job to keep their own backyard.
Yeah, sure, but I'm just trying to gauge what's your judgment here exactly, because I mean I don't see it as being that bad.
I wanted to get to Leo on something where he said, of course it's their fault.
I don't disagree.
Leo walked away.
Oh, I was about to ask, for example, let's go furry for a split second there. Let's suppose for a minute in the furry community there was a section that did like cooking. I wouldn't come yell at them for Kiro.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be like, nah. I'd be like, hey, it'd be cool if you did speak up though.
So the issue here is just I mean, I want to hear Leo's side of this because he's saying no, that's not right.
Yeah, I'm confused about that too. Maybe at the very
away.
beginning, but there's been enough time there where I would have been like, look, that isn't necessarily their fault. I cited.
Goodbye, Leo.
In the end, it's like, it's nice that these community leaders are willing to come together and call shit out, right? But it's like, it's also not their job. It's not their responsibility.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It can do good, and you can argue that they should. In the end, it's like when they have everything to lose and nothing to gain, and it's like,
well, okay, here, let me debunk that too. Let's suppose that you jumped into this and did a shitty job, and it could potentially hurt you. Didn't Lily Pete skyrocket, and she did kind of a fucked up job?
Yeah, but Lily Pete's known for being hated. Do you really want to be Lily fucking Pete?
Yeah, but
honest
still,
to God,
it's
raise your hand if you want to be Lily fucking Pete right now.
The example still applies to the argument. It does, like, of course, no one wants to be Lily Pete, but the argument was that doesn't necessarily prove to be a damaging thing.
Yeah, I'll use somebody that you've personally. Hold it. No, you should be. Hopefully, you won't hate me for this one. Tara Strong says lots of retarded shit publicly. It doesn't.
No, Tara Strong absolutely does say.
No, yeah, I understand, and perhaps people should not. I'll back in the stream in a minute. Okay, yeah, we'll get to you in a minute, hopefully. But it doesn't like massively hurt Tara Strong because Tara Strong's a goddamn big deal. And truth be told, if Josh learned to nut up a bit, he'd find out that he's kind of a big deal too, and he'd be able to get over a couple of, oopses here and there, as opposed to being the boogie of the fucking Brony fandom.
It's just...
Am I being
also,
unfair
he also
there?
had, like I said before, a couple of this of the information I brought before, where fucking up doesn't necessarily mean losing subscribers, but potentially, like I said, if Josh Scorcher jumps into the animation community, which he has, nothing to do with, and ends up calling out the wrong dude because of his own ignorance on the subject, and also, not having the time to properly research the subject,
Right,
get to know the community, get to know the context, get to know the situation, and he fucks up and calls out the wrong dude, and then the wrong dude gets fucking punished.
The only counterpoint you have come up with is, what if you're wrong?
No. This is such a goofy argument. All this is dumb because, okay, Creepy Reading clearly, values his reputation to the point where he's not going to call out a lot of these people because he doesn't want to take the risk. But that's Creepy's value hierarchy. What you're saying here is not going to fucking change it. It doesn't fucking matter.
Understood, but
you're like, oh, well, okay, maybe
perhaps Sheldon, the objective is to not change anyone's mind, but illustrate multiple points throughout the course of a live stream.
The point I'm trying to make is that you should be getting the right people for the right job. If someone in the fucking list community, if I learned that fucking Watch Mojo or okay, better example. If I learned that Blame It on George was dating a 14-year-old, I would call him out. I would do it. When Mr. fucking Nightmare was stealing scripts from Listverse, and even though I knew calling him out would hurt me, I did it because the fucker was shitting in my backyard. Because I had an authority to speak on there. I knew exactly what was going on. I understood the community, and I could read the room, and I could make my voice within that community ring louder than anyone else's from outside.
Okay.
Outside of Mr. Medicare, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying that if we're going to go after these people, we should make sure that we're getting the people in the right positions to do it.
Well,
Would it not seem worthwhile to reach the amount of your audience that is the overlap, though?
I do have something to say about that. Now, here's the funny thing, right? I don't know as many animators in the Brony community. I know one. Only one. And he doesn't like me. And I'm okay with that. But I had an interesting conversation with him about the whole analysis versus animator thing a while ago about Zach Keys. And here's the interesting thing. You're telling me that there's not much of an overlap. I don't believe that. I don't believe that one bit. And here's why I don't believe that. Number one, 4 degrees of separation would automatically tell you that that doesn't exist because they like the same thing. They interact with each other. Don't buy it on that end. But there's another end that I'll buy it on. And this comes from Minty Root himself. He said that whenever that whole debacle with Toon Credit wiping his little baby dick on his plushie got out, people in the Brony analysis community shut Minty down when he tried to talk about it.
Because he was an insufferable dick to the analysis community,
my
nonstop.
Point is,
and his head was up, and his head was up a certain person's ass that I see there in the call right now, who's free to speak up at any point in time. Eric,
that's not what I'm getting. My point is there is overlap there, regardless of what you want to think.
Yeah,
hold on, stop. He's already acknowledged an overlap, so that's not a point of contention.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that if you.
I think it's much bigger than he seems to be acknowledging that it is.
I'm not saying that the overlap.
I'd like to get back to that debate there. I see what you're saying there, but at the same time, nobody knew who the fuck Andrea Dash was. Nobody in the fucking analysis community knew who this motherfucker was. If you want to say that for, Toon, because he kind of did bleed over into multiple things because Toon had his finger in a bunch of different pies, and that's not meant to be sounding as perverted as it does. Toon got around in not just the perverted way, but he was intermingled with a lot of shit. Andrea Dash was a nobody, and
not so much.
Not so much.
I mean, obviously, it depends on who we're talking about. no shit. Like,
I want to clarify something too. My argument wasn't from ad populum here. I wasn't saying that we should get people who have big audiences and and we got to make sure we get as much overlap with the people being affected. That's not the argument. The argument is that people in that community are in that community. They understand how it works. They understand the culture. They understand the people, and they know the people. And you're more like someone in the My Little Pony art community are more likely to know who Andrea Dash is than Josh fucking Scorcher. And because of that, they're going to be a lot more well-informed and a lot less likely to fuck up when they end up calling it out. They're also going to look more authoritative on the subject based on the fact that they're in that community.
And that's fine, and you might very well be accurate on that. In this case, me pointing out all this to the analysis community, maybe that'll help me be able to get this across to other people, because I'm trying to make sure everybody's aware of this. And if you have,
but I understand that too, and I was hoping to have somebody else here, but they're busy.
Right? Do you think a predator?
No, hold. Like, I gotta address this too, Leo. Since I kind of half suspect that you might do this again in future videos. When you point up and you put up the full picture of the analysis community, a few of those people, a few good people, have basically been very useful and useless.
Yeah, I couldn't find an image that properly conveyed exactly who I was speaking to. It was very
Photoshop.
broad.
Yeah, I would probably.
You say Photoshop, but I uploaded that video literally 3 minutes before I hit it to McAllen.
I get that too, but in the future, I would probably discourage like blanking and blamming the whole entirety of the Brony analysis community in the future, since it's going to burn more bridges than help. And
there's some good sources out there.
Yeah, there's some people. Yeah, there's certainly been some people, if you even, we could argue about the people you're angry about, but there's certainly ones that you aren't, that you're kind of blasting, that I was a lot more careful in mine. I know mine took longer. I understand that yours was quicker, but probably in the future, you're going to basically cut off one of your fingers there in your haste.
The funny thing is you say that, but with the exception of one of those people, none of them had a problem sharing it. Of the ones that you are referring to right now.
I know one person I know one person later on removed their tweets, and I'm not going to give that to you.
Okay.
I think they were kind of pissed.
Win, Leo.
Yeah, I think you should figure that out on your own. But yeah, don't rock the boat. Things are going good. There's no need to fucking do that. Take better shots, man.
All right, I'll name names next
time.
Yes,
use a sniper rifle, not a bazooka. Okay, that's my advice. Yes.
And like I said, I really want to clarify here. I'm not making an argument from ad populace. I'm not trying to say that it's just more about, like I said, getting the right people who have the tools to deal with the situation properly.
No, dude, like, do you think the objective is so that predators know that the whole fandom is watching? And do you think predators care what part of the fandom they're interacting with? It's to send a unified front. I think we said that at the beginning.
I do want to get back to something Leo said, where he said about Toon Critic rubbing his baby dick on the thing. I'm going to quote Licky. He's like, "Oh, that sounds like something that would have been cool if we did it." So no, he did that to fucking Minty because Minty was associated with the PFC. He did kind of do something that was, more or less something that probably would have been done to him, given half the chance.
I just, like I said, I understand what you're saying, Brony Inspector, but it's less about, it's like, okay, when you want someone to speak on your behalf, do you want a bumbling idiot who only read half the script, or do you want a guy who knows the lines in and out?
No. Why is this being presented as a dichotomy, right? Like, why can't it be both?
I think it's both.
Right.
Because if you, like I said, it's just, if you're not familiar with the community, you're not gonna, you're more likely to fuck up. And the more likely you're gonna fuck up, the less likely you are gonna talk. So why not go after the people who have the most responsibility to deal with it?
If you're somebody who's competent at gathering information and presenting it, right, and you're somebody who has a lot of reach, that's the optimal solution, I would say. Right?
I work 80 hours a week. and most of that spent working at a office job I fucking
Well,
hate.
I'm not saying
Followed
you.
by me
I'm not saying
also.
you. I'm not
No.
saying
I'm
you.
just, let me. I'm just trying to give
I
you
understand what
context.
you're saying too, Creepy, but there's somebody else I know that basically Leo's been trying to get a hold of who we could tell when he's streaming and just goofing off or playing a D&D game that isn't as nearly as hardworking as you, that could be helping out, that a tweet or a retweet or having a sit down with a conversation that he promised to have that he completely bitched out of. What was his name? Fuck, I forgot. Oh. Anyways,
I'm gonna also let you guys know that Josh Scorcher's, like, most of his income does go from hosting the, like, D&D streams. Like, that's a part of his Patreon rewards. That's literally, like, you know, like, that's kind of what bolsters his money and income and stuff like that. I mean, like, just go to the D&D streams and look at the super chats. I know it doesn't look like a job, but I mean, like, when a lot of your job involves you coming up with the D&D campaigns and setting up the maps and putting all this scripted stuff
D&D
together.
can be a full-time job.
Yeah, no,
you
like,
see.
I understand. Look, I'm
not saying that it is. I'm just saying that, like, even
Can
though
be,
it
obviously.
doesn't look like us YouTubers are doing it, I'm just trying to say that, like, you know, it's there.
Us YouTubers is doing any works over
hold
here.
it, Creepy. As someone who has enough D&D books to bury you head to toe, I do understand that making a D&D campaign can take some time. But there's also
especially
time
when you're building 4 of them at the same time.
Yeah, but yeah, there's time for Josh to do a skosh more. He just didn't want to. He didn't want to.
The Patreons can wait a night, you know.
I'm not even a night. A lot of these little things can be wrapped up in a significant amount of the time. Truth is, the discussion with Ty, probably if we would have said, okay, we had everything we needed to talk to, shook his hand, got a minute out of here, if we really would have worked at it in 20 minutes, if we really needed to. Yeah, we kept him a little bit longer. We didn't necessarily need to. We could have made things a bit more on point there. There are ways that you could integrate these people and have, like, you know, a better discussion and stuff. It doesn't have to be confrontational, but, you know, it's someone seeming like, I just don't want to bother.
When Leo, I'm also gonna give Josh the benefit of the doubt in the situation of Leo, mainly because, like I said, Leo takes a shotgun approach to a lot of situations, if not everything. And, like, we're also talking about the same dude who called out the entire Brony analysis community because the animator fucked up.
Okay, right? I get that too,
of course,
but
Josh might be a little hesitant to
I
talk
understand
to him,
that too, but
that's starting to threaten people.
No, and he was. Josh wasn't touching him with a 10-foot pole before that. There were months and months. Where Leo hadn't said shit about the Brony analysis community. Now, I got pissed too when I heard that. And I was like, look, I could understand some rando from the outside looking in, but Leo, you know that they've attempted to help out. And I thought that was... I didn't feel that part there was right. Not bitching about in the video on a whole, I'd say is at least 90 to 95%, probably higher. That one part kind of pisses me off, but I got over it. I could see why someone wouldn't. But in Josh's case, I'm like, I don't see where you're that reason that this got said.
I'm just gonna. I suppose I'll just leave my final argument with these people don't technically owe you anything, and
I'll leave
as
my
long as
final
their
argument.
backyards are clean, there's no standard that they need to be held to. They can do more, and you can make an argument that'd be more beneficial, but by no means are they required to.
Yeah, they're not required to, and I'll make my argument. Just because they're not required to doesn't mean they shouldn't. And when you have a large group of people that follow you, literally to the point to where they will go and pick fights with strangers for your sake, you have a duty to try to inform them when there's a monster in your midst. Maybe it's not in their backyard, but it could be, and it could be very quickly. And what's happening next door with a fire going on, it could easily get in your house very quickly. You shrugging, drinking coffee, and going back. Let me finish. Getting back inside doesn't help stop the fire. It just helps it spread. So no, I don't take that as a get out of, well, lack of a better word here, but get out of jail.
Then why don't you apply the same standard to people like Nickelodeon, who hired people like fucking John Kay?
Who says you don't?
Don't think I don't?
Who says you don't? Yeah, what are you talking about, dude?
They don't. These people don't though, and if you go on, Nickelodeon hasn't even made a.
All right, let me back.
If I were a pyromaniac and okay,
no, let me creepy. Are you basically saying, well, you see, EA isn't so bad. Look at Bethesda. What kind of retarded bullshit is this?
No, don't get me wrong. I'm in the firm opinion that Nickelodeon should talk about it. It's definitely in their backyard, but they don't.
You don't
And-
think I have issues? You don't think I have issues with Nickelodeon? You don't think I've spoken about them? You don't think I've tweeted at them? Or actually, what I've been doing with them is I call them and I want to know why have you not talked about Dan Schneider? Why did you back John Cristofalusi, knowing what he was going through? Why did you back the creator of Loud House? All these things happened under your tenure with Schneider. He hired somebody who was a convicted child predator to work on stage with children. You don't think I've had words with people at Nickelodeon about that? May not be as direct as talking to a producer, but I guarantee you they know my name from their complaints. Don't come at me with that nonsense. And don't try to pretend like just because I may not do it in another place doesn't mean I shouldn't here. That is called the flaw of relative privation.
Okay, let me modify the scenario a bit to be more accurate. Why aren't you going after the host of Blue's Clues because Dan Schneider did something shitty on iCarly?
Give me his name.
He would. He would.
Fuck.
Yeah.
You probably
for
shouldn't
the
go.
same people. What do you have to say? That's not unreasonable.
Here's what you're doing, creepy.
I mean,
here.
like-
You got a guy here who's willing to basically jump at it to anybody, and you're like, I bet you wouldn't go after this guy.
Leo.
Well, you'd lose that
Leo.
bet.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
I guess in my opinion,
Listen. My turn. Okay. This fucking okay. At first, I want to say, I agree with Creepy here, but not really for the same reason. I'm just libertarian on it. I just think, people are free to do whatever the fuck they want to do, and whatever comes out of that, they're gonna have to deal with the consequences or whatever benefits there might be. But aside from that, let's put that away for a second. I mean, Creepy, what satisfies your threshold here, right? I mean, does Leo have to call out every single instance of what we're talking about? I mean, I don't understand your point.
I feel like there's right people for the right job.
I
Nickelodeon
see what
should
you're-
call out
I
Dan
see-
Schneider,
I see-
not the host of Blue's
I see
Clues.
what you're saying here, but at the same time, I'm also noticing that's where I kind of hit my threshold, where I was like, he's calling out Josh again, but Josh has done all the But
Right.
yeah.
I'm just saying. All I'm saying is that we need to call out the right people for the right job.
I get that too. Let me ask you this though, Creepy. If let's say someone who's working on TF2 got nicked for something similar. No, I don't have any proof, don't even have any suspicions, no one's brought anything like that. I don't think that they would bring it forward. I think that they'd be like, okay, we report it to the police, we're good.
I don't actually think anyone disagrees with you here. I think we all agree that somebody who's sufficiently competent at doing this should do it. Does anyone disagree with that?
No.
I'm not hearing anything. So
No, that's yeah.
Whatever
Right.
that might mean, right? Whatever that might mean. So they're familiar with the space, or they're smart enough to actually make an accurate judgment or assessment of whatever it fucking might be. Right? I don't think we disagree. So
Right. And
I don't know
if
what we're
someone's
arguing.
shitting, I guess the best way to say is if someone's shitting in my neighbor's yard, I might tell my neighbor, but my neighbor should be the one to kick his ass.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's like if you're a pyromaniac and you find out that when the neighbor sees the house across the street is on fire and he doesn't call the fire department, that's a great, oh cool, I'm moving into that neighborhood, I can burn down all the houses I want. If you saw a fire, you'd call the fire department, right? Whether it was your shit on fire or not, right?
Right.
Okay, all right, just that's same approach, same exact approach.
I do want to apologize for constantly saying Josh. I could point to someone who tries to pretend like they're interested in the welfare of the fandom, Dr. Wolf. That kind of
Parenthetical
yeah,
examples.
hypothetical.
Most famous guy.
Yeah, some guy who looks like a furry. But that one kills me every time.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I believe that when it comes to these situations, the best way to explain it is by using Nickelodeon. I feel like Nickelodeon as a network should come forward and put a statement and make sure that their community
Orange
is protected.
cable
I don't-
network bad.
I honestly do not think that
their logo's
the host of
orange.
Blue's Clues
We got
should
it.
be obligated in any way to make sure that Nickelodeon's doing their job, other than when it comes to his own community, his own show, his own group, because that's what he knows about. He probably doesn't know jack shit that's going on with Nickelodeon. He's probably not even on fucking Twitter. But you know, like I said, there's just to expect like every famous brony to call out every situation that happens.
Well, I talked about this
opposed...
in my follow-up to Leo's, where I was like, look, I'm not expecting everyone to do that. I understand that algorithms are weird and wonky, and if you keep talking about the same things, maybe Twitter will kind of maybe put you in a sort of limited state. I've heard all kinds of crazy conspiracy theories. But if every once in a while you could get, like, maybe this person here to say something every third or fourth story, oh, I know you're busy this week, or I know you're busy this week, but maybe...
Pass the ball.
Yeah, pass the ball along. Okay, it's your time to speak up this time. You know, give this a look. And like, and that's all that I'd basically look. If someone on Twitter said this is kind of concerning, I hope more people with more time look at this. That would make me fucking unbelievably happy.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any objections to that myself.
That's one of the most like sincere things I've ever heard you say, Anthony.
I know it's so late in the podcast and no one's gonna hear it. It's an hour 54 in. No one's gonna hear that fucking line.
Can I give you a personal experience that I had to deal with? I'm not gonna get into too much information because I don't want to put a spotlight on this, right? But a while ago in the creepypasta community, there was a document floating around that accused a lot of the bigger people in that community of doing some really fucked up shit. And it was like, if you looked at the document itself and took everything that it said at face value and trusted the people who contributed to it, it would look pretty damning. But if you actually, like, you know, go into the numbers and do all the research there, you may find that things aren't adding up anymore. And this document out there contained these dudes' personal information, from addresses to financial info and other things. And the things that they're being accused of is certainly something to, like, consider. Like, if they actually did it, this information would be relevant. But they weren't. And it was just some guy out there on the fucking internet trying to make these miscellaneous facts look like they line up, even though they, if you, like I said, if you do research and
so research side, how much of just reading the information provided would it take for a person with average reading comprehension skills?
I read the whole thing. I believed in it wholeheartedly until I started going onto Kickstarter and reading percentage payouts and going to book publishers, asking them general rates and all these other shit that your normal person just wouldn't have access to. If you read it and took it at face value and listened to the claims being made, you would have thought that these dudes legitimately fucked someone up, but they didn't.
I mean, this just comes
and if I were to pass that around and share that information, like,
but this just comes back to the competency point, right? I mean, like, yeah,
it took me 12 hours.
You're assuming your sources are competent most of the time, right? Yeah, I'm not suggesting anyone believe whoever comes off the street with info on someone.
In order for me to parse what was true and what wasn't, it required me to take at least 12 hours of my time getting information I honestly shouldn't have been able to get because I had to pull a few strings that only I had available to me.
So that was you wow, that almost proves the point we're trying to make here to a T. I have nothing to add to that. Only you were the person able to determine the truth. Wow. That's,
don't get me wrong. Like, I'm glad that I got the information that there were
good.
Just listen and hear me out, right? I'm glad I got the information. I'm glad that it got.
So you're telling me a person who was connected within their community was able to determine what the truth of a situation was.
You know, I'm gonna go ahead and pose a counter argument here. And Anthony, I like you, but you're gonna hate this. You're gonna hate this point.
All right.
All right, Creepy. So you don't think it's one person's responsibility depending on what part of the community you're in. Well, let me give you an example here. And again, I'm sorry, Anthony. This is the first thing that came to mind. Say you have a church, a Catholic church.
Oh, God damn it!
A Catholic church has
Catholics.
The Catholic Church has multiple facets to its church, whether it be priest, deacon, bishop, all these different parts of the fivefold ministry. Say the priest, and again, gonna have to go here, is doing things to children. All right. Who should talk out about it?
The church.
Which part of the
Whoever
church?
knows.
Which part of the church?
Any.
They're all part of the church, right?
Okay, so like this church as a whole needs to speak up about it. Anyone from the congregation
So
to
instead of a
that
church,
specific
let's
church.
say it's a fandom.
Is it the Pope's job to talk about it?
Yes.
Not necessarily, 'cause
Oh,
Yes, necessarily.
he's
The highest up person should be the loudest voice.
yes.
if some Catholic church in America has a kitty diddler in it, is it the Pope's job to put a megaphone
Yes,
to
absolutely.
Fulton Lake, USA?
Actually, yeah, it literally is part of his job.
Well, then I don't know enough about religion.
Oh, that's never stopped. That's never stopped an atheist from bitching about it before. Shut the fuck up.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Listen. Okay, so when the Pope agrees to be the Pope, doesn't he agree to those stipulations? I mean, like when I start a YouTube channel, I'm not agreeing to any of these kind of stipulations. That I'm going to be the figurehead of this community, right? I'm just a YouTube channel that people happen to click on a subscribe button because for whatever fucking reason, right?
Right.
So at what point is it, right? Is it a certain threshold of popularity?
Yeah, that's a good metric. Why not? Let's just use that.
Okay, well, what is it? Well, I guess it comes down to your preferences. Again, this has been fun.
Pope has made his stance on this. He's
Go ahead,
This has been fun, and I think we made good points. And I'm just going to take off for now. So I'll see you guys later.
Okay, it's
Later,
been fun,
Canadian.
boss.
Bye bye.
second Canadian to leave.
Indeed.
America
Killed
wins.
another one. But I just I'm just gonna quickly go back to the point I was making. I want to quickly finish this, right? When it came to this leak, right, that contained this dude's personal information and was accusing him of all this stuff, I'm not against getting that information, and I'm not against being able to disprove it. But the problem is that if I were to talk about it, I'd be magnifying some dude's personal private information from their address to their personal intimate lives to thousands of people. And
I understand the hesitance, and everything like this should be taken with more than just a hint of sobriety.
if I were to look at it from the outside and not do that research, or like I said, I don't have time, I'm trusting the sources I'm getting, and I were to make a video on it, I would have just literally ass blasted some dude's
creepy.
life.
I'm gonna shoot my own foot off just because I'm that bitter. Someone should have to clean up that part of the fandom because it's in their own backyard, correct?
Oh yeah.
Am I not in Josh's backyard?
No.
I'm
Backyard, you're stuck on his windowsill like an old Garfield.
Really, you're on
plush.
it. You've been sitting on his front porch for years now.
I was about to say, fuck you. I fucking one of the heads of fucking the Secret Rift, which is the high point of one of the Brony analysts. What the fuck are you talking about, son? What are you on about? No, I'm absolutely in his backyard.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't really call you a Brony analyst.
I analyze in my videos. I'm a Brony. Boom. These nuts.
you don't analyze the show. You analyze.
You know what?
Well, he doesn't really analyze either. He tells bad, ripped off Doug Walker
see,
jokes.
But creepy,
so...
you didn't take into account Bofa.
Oh, that hurt. That hurt.
No, he knows. I've heard him. He knows. He's absolutely.
Here's one of the biggest issues here, and here's the problem where I do have. I have no problem reining things in if it gets somebody to cooperate, if it gets them to understand that I'm not coming out here because I want to tear somebody's throat out. I'm out here. The entire reason I got involved with this is because there are people actively getting preyed upon here by these monsters. And I'm not going to give them the dignity of calling them human. They're monsters. And I'm trying my best, not because I have a vendetta. If I had a vendetta, I'd be doing things differently. But not because I have a vendetta, but because I think it's the right thing to do. But more importantly, what I'm seeing here within not just the Brony analysis community, but the Brony community as a whole, and ANY actually had something of a discussion about this. He gave me a little bit of insight, and I am grateful for that. He's been a big help throughout all of this. But even within the analysis community, they've got to grow up sometime and stop thinking that every single bit of conflict is going to just be detrimental to them. They can't be afraid of conflict. And that is where a lot of this comes from. I'm afraid of getting into a conflict here. I'm afraid of getting into a chat with somebody I think may be hostile. Where have they been? What lives have they lived? Because I have never, I can't even think of even as a child living a life free of conflict.
Right. If the level of conflict that they're afraid of interacting with involves people on the internet, like God, what the charmed existence.
Now, here's the thing: if I was like actively doxing Josh and showing up at his doorstep, telling him "fight me IRL," yeah, put a bullet in me, because at that point I've lost my freaking mind, right? But I'm not even doing that to these people. Maybe my statement to them was a little bit heavy-handed, maybe out of hand. Anthony said something about it, and Y has, I'm willing to accept any form of criticism, even if it's from people I like, right? But when it comes down,
I like your ham-fisted nature. I think it's exactly the wake-up call that we need sometimes.
But at this point, we have got to stop pussyfooting around this like we're a bunch of teenage children in one of those Nickelodeon shows that you were telling me I should rage more about, right? We have to approach this as adults. And right now, the bare bones of the fact is there are children in your community. Well, not in your community, your creepy reading, but you know what I mean. In the community.
Sure, in his community.
That are being preyed upon.
There has to be some. There's a lot of kids in my community. There's probably someone in there that I just don't know about.
I guarantee you, right now, someone in your community is being creeped on by a creepy.
Guys, look, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Yeah, maybe they're not obligated to. Maybe I can't tell them they're forced to. Clearly, they're not forced to. But Winston Churchill did make a very, very valid point. Evil prevails when good men do nothing. Regardless of where you are in the community, if you do nothing, things are going to get worse. It doesn't matter if there's a Brony analysis. I have people like Lord Ben Mazza and other people who are much, much smaller than even me that have put this information out. There, at this point, is no excuse other than I don't want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, whatever. I'll mark you, I'll avoid you, I'll go about my business, and I'll try to get other people's attention here. That's all you got to say. You don't have to tell me why. You don't have to give me a long, protracted speech like a lot of these Brony role players try to do. Just tell me you don't want to. Fine, I'll leave you alone for now. I might give you a bit of a harsh talking to later, because I'm going to want to know why you're afraid. And that's
a long equation about why you don't give a shit. Yeah,
ultimately, when you are in a community, it should be your understanding that you can either help or you can hinder. And if you see a predator, you should always, always, always try to help. This isn't funny. This isn't a joke. I don't go out there and put stuff like that on my channel, which, by the way, isn't a channel made specifically for outing pedophiles, all right? I'm not Chris Hansen. But my community watches my goofy 80s cartoons videos. They have no problem with putting that on our platform. Why? Because we're all a bunch of boomers and we all hate these type of scumbags. Because we all have an understanding of what type of damage they can do anywhere. We don't have this problem in the communities that I'm a part of. You know why? Because any of them that might exist are so far away that they have no idea if we're looking at them or not, because they're terrified of coming out. These people in the Brony community are not terrified. They're out in the open. They're doing this publicly.
They're comfortable.
They're on Patreon. They're on Discord. They're on Facebook groups. They are everywhere, and no one's challenged them until last year. And thank God for people like FNGR, who will allow people like me, as blunt and as brazen as I can be, to come on here and shout these people down and let everyone know they exist.
Amen.
Because nobody else has allowed that to happen.
All right, so I let you speak, right? And I want you to listen to me as I say this, just from my perspective.
I'll go ahead and shut my mic off.
All right, cool. So you say the word afraid, right? And that is a very apt term. When I look at stuff like that, it's like, do I have the time to look into this? Do I have the time to do this justice? And there are some situations that don't require as much time and effort as others, but even things that on the surface level look clear cut and done aren't necessarily like that. Like the other story where it looked like one of the people in my own community was, like I said, fucking with someone's life.
What if they're wrong? Is your only
hear me out, right? I'm not saying that the truth can't be obtained, but it's a lot of time, effort, and energy that some of us just don't have. Some of us don't have the ability to sit down and make sure that all the T's are crossed and I's are done. And you know what? If you go in there without doing that research and you take it at face value, you run the risk of hurting someone who's innocent. In a sense, instead of doing good, you're just doing more harm and adding to the possibility of hurting someone. And you know what? I rather live in a legal system where good people don't get hurt and falsely accused than I rather let a bad person get away than let a good person go.
Here's the thing.
Punished.
I would, if someone per se got run out of a fandom because they were falsely accused, but of course, the case would fall up. The courts would find out it was false, and the case wouldn't go anywhere. Just because that person wasn't able to be part of that fandom anymore doesn't mean their life is ruined.
I've seen my fair share of people kill themselves over shit like this.
They need help. They need help outside of being part of a fandom.
Yeah.
Listen, if my entire community of friends and structure was on the internet and then everyone knew me as a pedophile,
that person needs help.
You can sit there and say that's fucked up, but I mean, sometimes that's all people have.
Well, you made a remark
they're
here.
known by everyone as a pedophile, even though they're not. I mean, sometimes people make the wrong choice.
I don't entirely disagree.
But here, one moment.
Yeah, I really gotta have this one. I don't entirely disagree with you, Creepy, but at the same time, I mean, I don't even know if I agree with this, but it sounds like such a good point. I have to get it in there. Yeah, I'd rather let one innocent person not get blamed than someone guilty get put away. In that case, monsters don't just hurt one person; they keep going until they basically get stopped. We've seen that time and again. We've yet to see one of these people. I mean, when you hear about Victor Vortex only did this one thing, I couldn't help. I think it was Gilded Dash, there was some other person who said that he's done this a couple other times. And it's like pulling teeth getting these goddamn extra stories about them. I could certainly see where, I'm not calling for innocent people to get pancaked, but I could see why the argument would be numerically sound when you look at the fact that each guilty person
multiple offender.
Yes.
Yeah. If Creepy, do you have anything else to say on that before I respond?
I'm gonna finish this point here because I got interrupted a few times. All I'm saying is that I'm not, although I am making the devil's advocate argument here on why people might not talk about it and why people might not necessarily be qualified to talk about it.
Well, you're coming off as one specific.
Let him please.
Just to let you know. Yeah, sorry.
Please let him.
Finish. I know. It sounds like I'm arguing for Josh, but I mean, this applies to anyone. All right, and it's a standard that I wouldn't just apply to Josh. It's a standard I'd apply to everybody. Even though this definitely does apply to Josh.
Including Josh. Okay.
Yeah.
As long as he's included.
Let him finish.
What I'm trying to say is that sometimes these people that you're reaching out to aren't the most qualified to talk about it. And even though they have the reach and potential to do something good, sometimes they're not the people you should be reaching out to. Sometimes they don't have the time to put the time and energy and effort to make sure that they're getting the right stuff done. And I know it's the what if you're wrong argument, but you know what? Like, if you don't have the time or the ability to do that, then you shouldn't do it. And that's the crux of the argument there.
Okay, then allow me to retort. And after that, Buttons has something that they would like to say, but I think that's on Anthony's end. Look, I think fear is a problem here. But as far as time goes, let me be very clear here. I work close to 60 hours a week. I'm a married man in my mid-30s. I operate my own channel where I do everything. I don't outsource my editing. I don't outsource dick. I run a sort of HEMA school. I run the only Houston Gundam Club that meets every single month, once a month. I do a lot of these things. A lot of stuff's on my plate. I can do this. And more importantly, if I was asking every single one of these individuals to research this independently, you're right, you might have an argument about time. You might. But that's not what I'm asking these people to do. The most I've asked any of them, I haven't asked them for a video. That would be beyond the pale. I would never dictate to somebody what videos they should make. However, all I'm asking them to spread awareness. That awareness can stop at least one kid. You talk about you're worried about, not having one innocent person. I worry more about what innocent kid might get hurt. And I worry about innocent people getting hurt too. You don't think it bothered me? You don't think I lost sleep when I tore into that one guy who admitted to something he didn't even do? You don't think I had words about everybody that was involved with that afterwards? If you think so, you're fooling yourself. I lost sleep over that. Let me finish.
I'm not making any personal claims against you.
No, but let me finish here if you don't mind. I will absolutely allow you to retort, as you have given me that kindness too. We're out of excuses. If you don't want to, and of course I don't mean you, I mean, you know what I mean. You're out of excuses. If you don't want to, then just say you don't want to. And people will judge you based on that. But the whole, I don't have time, no. If it's a matter of, well, I had one person tell me that they didn't want to forward information that may come from FNGR. I asked them why, and they just said they don't want that. They wouldn't give me a direct answer why. Probably because FNGR's the big bad drama horse or whatever the ridiculous child mentality is.
I have been a dick.
So, yeah, so have I. But the thing is, data is data. If I was out there just flinging this at everybody, you're darn right I would expect everybody to tell me to sit down and shut up. But every single time I have produced a video, the 2 times I have, or the times we've come on stream, with the exception of that one guy that we were, frankly, I think we were misled on to begin with, concerning all this, data, hard, solid, evidence, backed up data. If you can't invest the time, trust in the people who have. Otherwise, this is going to keep going on, and these idiots are going to keep being comfortable.
That's actually kind of where
there is one time
mistaken.
Let Creepy retort.
Yeah, sorry,
I promise
To hear Looney, because I haven't.
No, I actually do want to hear. I do want to hear kind of what he has to say.
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
Excuse me.
So I feel that's credibility is one of the big issues with believing what is said by the likes of FNGR, Sheldon, or Vita. It's not that what they have to say is wrong or that what they have to say has no worth, but instead that they have built up a reputation in the community that doesn't cast them in a good light.
Oh, it doesn't give people warm, fuzzy feelings. Yes, I understand. That's
I mean, like that time when Vita accused FNGR of being a pedophile, despite not knowing how to read the fucking DSM-5.
Hold on, let Looney finish, please.
It doesn't give faith in the source. If you see a news source not seem very credible, why would you spread the information they're saying? Why would you watch the information they're saying?
Let me give you a good example of a time that this exact thing happened to us. Someone accused Photo Anon of being a pedo. Now, we talked to Photo Anon, and Photo Anon said, I would grill your source a little bit more. They're full of shit. And it wasn't any crazy, photo analysis or any of the stuff we thought we would rely on to determine that was in fact the case. It was just sitting in chat with this guy for the day until he admitted that they had doctored the screenshots. Okay. And like anyone who thinks that these guys aren't doing the legwork on sources just isn't behind the scenes enough and isn't involved enough with this to actually, speak to their credibility as to whether they're is this stuff ugly? Does it not give people warm, fuzzy feelings to think that, people exposing negative stuff in the fandom's supposed to be all lollipops and rainbows. Like, unfortunately, it isn't like that. But as far as working with, bad info, getting bad info, I think this crew tries to fucking cover their bases as much as they can.
I'd like to go on this right now. So, Looney's point about basically, we don't want to go with this person. Josh Scorcher has over 100,000 subscribers. Of those 100,000 subscribers, surely, numerically, it has to be not just possible, but it must be a fact that you have a fan somewhere out there who's smarter than me that you could reach out to and be like, hey, reach out amongst your fans and be like, you look into this. And every once in a while be like, look, I'd feel more comfortable with that as being a better source. But instead, just rather not deal with it. No, just rather not worry about it. Don't bother yourself with that crap.
I'm just gonna take the mic now. The problem with what FNGR said is that when you're a content creator, you can't expect other people to do that research for you when it's something that's got to be on you, because like I said, when you're dealing with stakes like that, you don't want to trust the numbers of someone else. Secondly, Leo, to you, I have to say that you're a very passionate person, and I have a lot of respect for that. So I just want you to be aware that even though I may have called into question some of the things you did, by no means do I want to understate that I understand where you're coming from is from a good place, and I fully believe in that. Me and you are on the same page, and you know what? I'm going to concede here that I do feel like the Brony fandom, the analysis community, everyone could do a little bit better, that something better can be done, especially in a community that's been kind of this rampant with problems. And I feel like there's a lot of contributing factors to that. Like I said, FNGR's and yours is burned bridges. Like it sucks. But public perception is certainly a thing to behold. And all that jazz. But, I guess I'll just concede here that I'll admit that more can be done. And from this point forward, I'll see what I can do about that.
Thank you.
And
If I could type in.
let me just finish here real quick,
Okay.
and I'll let you have the mic. But like I said, I'll see what I can do to maybe fix some of that stuff, maybe spread more awareness for these things. But I guess my main point on coming here was just, like I said, to offer a bit of perspective from these people, because, like I said, it's. I myself, almost when dealing with a situation like this, almost made the mistake of blasting personal information about a person who didn't deserve it. And I'd be mortified if that kind of information got out, especially if it wasn't true. And it's one thing when a monster hurts a child. It's another thing to hurt someone who honestly has nothing, who honestly has done nothing wrong. And when we're going around shotgunning, kicking in doors, and spreading awareness and stuff like that, we got to make sure that as little innocent people get caught in the crossfire as possible.
I think we do that.
It's when it comes to like these bigger people, like I said, the issue here is just burned bridges. And just this lack of credibility, this lack of perceived credibility. Let me fix that there. On their part when looking upon you guys, I understand that you guys do good work. Like I said, I'm here right now, and I'm saying things that may not be the most advantageous for myself. I'm saying things that could probably land me in hot water at some point. But it's whatever. I believe in what you guys are doing. And, I maybe the real key to fixing this problem is fixing some bridges, as opposed to
I've kept
demanding.
That. Yeah, no, I get that too. And here's the whole thing. I've been prepared to talk to Josh for some time. I've been prepared to be super polite and apologize for all my mistakes. I would have loved to have gotten him in this call, not as a gotcha, but just to finally sit down and look, if even if it was like at 90-10% split, I'd be willing to take his assistance and eat that, just because I think it'd be for the better of the fandom. It's not about, I need to really get Josh in the call. I cannot stand that motherfucker anymore. I can't. But I do think he's in a position. It's why even when I said about Lily Pete, I was like, this isn't my ideal, but congratulations. When I talked about whoever broke the Toon Critic story, which I won't say, that was my whole point. Congratulations, guys. Look who you made a hero. I think that's very much the same tactics, at least to some of those people. I won't say which ones. I don't think anything's all that much changed a year. by very much specific people who were initially involved. And they've done absolutely nothing to change my opinion. Basically, they tried to... It went wrong, and then they threw up their hands and said, "Welp, we're no good at that." They're like, if you have
Right, why didn't they build the bridge with someone who was good at it?
Yeah, and if
that
you
would have
have
been the perfect moment for them.
If you absolutely fucking can't, like you'll talk about, oh, you have these perceptions about me. What about me? I have these perceptions about these motherfuckers. Jesus, are you kidding me? Why should I stop? And I've been offering to, and I have been.
For the favor.
And I have been.
It's a favor to the whole fandom. Why is it a favor just to Anthony?
Because
you have no sense of responsibility towards it? Would that be the reason?
And we don't mean you.
No, not you. In parenthetical, you.
What I'm trying to say is that it's not worded like that. When, from their perspective, it's this dude who's been being
some dude who's like a jerk, and he makes us feel all prickly inside.
Here, let me cut through the theatrics here and be as very blunt as I can.
Please be direct.
Let me be as blunt as I can.
Please be direct.
I think Anthony will appreciate this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's a favor being asked. It doesn't matter if Anthony's their personal boogeyman. It doesn't matter if we have misconceptions about each other. One thing we should do is be adults and talk about misconceptions. Second thing people need to do is put aside hurt feelings, hurt egos, hurt everything, and deal with the actual problem here instead of attacking each other. That should be the main focus here. And the only reason I have said anything negative about the other people is because they have not even had the decency to talk about this. Even when Toon Critic was outed, their response when they put out videos, every single one of them was, "I don't want to talk about this any further." Too bad. Too freaking bad. It is time to grow up. It is time to get off the tit. Stand on your feet like an adult. Enough of this, I'm scared. Enough of this, Anthony's the pony devil.
What about my subs?
No, these people are the pony devil. Doesn't matter. Anthony doesn't scare me. Anthony shouldn't scare anybody, and I shouldn't be I shouldn't be the big boogeyman to anybody here. I'm a man in my mid-30s. I don't have access to these people unless I really put myself to it. If that's what they're worried about, it's baseless. And more importantly, they are too scared.
Mind if I recontextualize this real quick? It's not that they're scared of you. It's that they kind of look at you. They've seen the stuff that you've done in the past, and they're just like, oh, it's just Anthony being an asshole again. They don't look at anything beyond the title of the video because, like I said, like when I'm dealing with people that honestly don't like me, I don't necessarily like. I probably should, but like when it's just someone who's like in the past, at least in my mind, have proven themselves to be just kind of dicks, I just kind of ignore them. And it's not necessarily, like I said, I'm not gonna say it's right. I'm just gonna say it's not like they're scared of you. It's that they're ignoring you. And they want nothing to do with you. And because you're the only ones really into fandom talking about it.
We just need to start ignoring that scumbag Anthony Aguilar if people would just pretend he doesn't exist.
Then let me remove that facade. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
and more importantly, we're also not just going to sit here and be quiet. If they think if we ignore them, they'll go away tactic will work, and trust me, I know there are those who have made that very clear. That's what they think. They're dead wrong. It's gonna get.
It's not that they don't think you're gonna go away. I'm like, it's been going on for years now. It's just they think that if they ignore you and don't give you attention, it's out of sight, out of mind. And you know what? I mean, let's be fair here. That's kind of working.
Are you sure about that?
Wasn't one of your pieces of advice?
Are you sure about that?
I know Leo has a game plan.
Advice for getting rid of pedophiles to block them. Why? Like you say, it won't work for you. But it'd work for a pedophile.
The important thing about the pedophile is making sure the community is aware of the
He's got it.
Well, no. Breaking communication. Okay, why are you comparing breaking communication with a predator to this? That doesn't make any sense at all, dude. That's insane.
That was my advice to children.
No, I'm saying so. You give them the advice that blocking them will get rid of the problem in one context.
To children.
But now you're trying. Hold on. Break it down. You're saying that if there's this one thing that's bad, you can block it to get rid of it. But us, No, you can't block us and get rid
No.
of us.
Oh my god.
You say it
Oh
will
my
work
God.
in one context, but it won't work in another.
Oh
Yeah,
my
because
god.
hold on.
Get him out of here.
Hold on. You can stop a wood fire with water. You can't stop a chemical fire with water. If you think that's a good comparison, you're a mental infant.
Yeah.
I'm just
What are you talking about?
Well, what were you
Yes, I
expecting?
know.
Hold
You
on.
read that
analogy
Let me.
doesn't work here.
Were you expecting real analysis from a guy who covers Gravity Falls? Come on, people.
Well, you see, if you apply the good advice you gave earlier to this situation right now, it turns into bad advice. What the fuck are you talking about?
What I'm trying to say is that when I said you should block pedophiles, I was referring to children. If a dude is coming after you and, getting a little bit too handsy, getting a little too uncomfortable, you should block him.
Block
Because
all
odds are
communication with predators. It's such basic advice.
Yeah, for children. It's great advice.
No, if someone were like flirting with me really hard and I was on like Discord and I was like, I told you to leave me alone, bitch, I would block them. Block predators. That's obvious advice.
And more importantly, the whole, well, that's worked. No, it hasn't. You know why I know it hasn't? Because I've seen people's names being whispered in places people don't think I see it.
Yes.
I'm not playing that asinine game here, son. That's not how this works. Welcome to Big Boy World. And these people, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and put my cards on the table here.
Go ahead.
Josh wants to get married, right?
Oh boy.
If Josh thinks he can handle a household with a wife, but can't even deal with some random person on the internet wanting to talk to him, he's in for a massive problem.
And we know how your wife acts, Josh. Oh boy.
I don't know anything about that, and I'm not going to make any judgment.
I think we do. I give it.
It's time.
Oh baby. Yeah, no. I'm gonna put on my Nostradamus. I'm gonna put on my Nostradamus hat right now. I give it 2 years,
Back on
motherfucker.
point here. Josh never said he couldn't deal with you. He's just refusing to. It's not that he can't. It's that he doesn't want
Did
to.
you tell that?
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Hold on. No, you tell that devil dog to stop acting like a devil pup, to put on his big boy pants and man up here. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about this alleged Marine being so doggone cowardly that he can't deal with a couple of randos on the internet. He is the only Marine I've ever met with no spine. I've had enough.
He don't even have a head on his shoulders, let alone a spine. I just don't think he's got the fucking wits to do it.
I'm gonna continue this. First time I tried to talk to Josh, right? Creepy shows up. Creepy, I love you. I think you're a wonderful person. I think that you're a very warm individual. But you know what? Josh should have showed up that first time. Instead, he sends you. Second time, he just no-shows altogether. I've had enough. My issues with Josh overall have been mostly theological at this point. But if he's avoiding all of this because he just doesn't want to deal with the mean people, then not only is he not a good Christian, he's a bad person in general. And at this point, I've had enough of the games.
Like, it does occur to Josh that it would take meaner, more thick-skinned people to deal with this end of things. Like, he would, in order to do what's right and let's say just raise awareness. Like, yeah, you might have to interact with some people who had to have the Constitution to get their hands a little bit more dirty. Then, of course, that we know he's not willing to do that. We're not asking him to, not even close.
I'm gonna sit here and say one thing.
Okay.
Okay. One, just generally speaking, I get that you're speaking honestly, but attacking the dude like this is part of the reason why he doesn't want to talk to you. It's 'cause
We
you're
could
prone
kiss
to
his
doing
ass
stuff
for a
like that.
year and it wouldn't change anything.
You could kiss his ass for a year, but you're also saying that you want the guy to help you out, and I did say that I'm willing to help build bridges here.
No,
Like,
he does. No, he needs to help out the whole fandom. He needs to.
No, not look.
Sense of the
you can sit there and posture at him all you want, but you're
All right,
just
I'm not going to
gonna-
posture then. How about James 4:17? Therefore, whoever knows the right thing to do yet fails to do it is therefore in sin. How's that sound?
Yeah,
In the-
here's the
What if
here's
he-
here. You know
doing
what?
the Bible.
Could I just chuck him in and go? Here's the carrot stick. You work with me. I get Leo to leave you the fuck alone.
Listen, after
Leo, are you in with this deal?
I don't hear him
you
say.
gotta-
Yeah.
You got a green light.
While I would like to instead just sit down and have a civil conversation about the issues I have with him on the community and a theological aspect. If it gets Josh to stop wringing his hands and clutching his pearls and gets him on board with informing people of these monsters, I'll be happy to shut my mouth about him for the rest of my life.
That is
Listen,
the best deal
FNGR,
he's
by the
ever
way,
going to get.
After this call, I'll see after the stream. I'll see what I can do.
No.
All right. What if I were to promise, word for word, I will never mention him ever again if we could just get him to do some, like, basic things. Like, some simple things. We run it, like, up the ladder. He has, like, either himself, a really close loved one look at it. Okay, that's good enough to retweet. Or you could look at it, or, like, spread it.
Hey, yeah, you're the perfect leg man for him right
Yeah,
now, actually.
I know, my
You
God.
know what? I cannot think of a better guy because you know that we're on board. You know we're legit. You can tell whether we're
Thanks for not
spinning-
calling me a faggot,
Yeah.
gamers.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Why isn't that you? Why isn't that you? I think that's why isn't that you already?
I'm kind of glad I came here. Like I said, it's I'm doing my best to like hear everyone's point of view, and like I said, I can offer my perspective when I can. I can hear you guys out. Like I said, oh, by the way, FNGR, we're ending the stream in 15 minutes.
Oh, well, you gotta go.
Oh, okay.
All right.
But opening up the lines of communication, building bridges, and making sure we have an overall more safer community isn't something that anyone here has an issue with.
Okay.
And I mean, maybe it's time we just stop attacking each other. Maybe it's time we stop calling each other spineless. Maybe it's time to stop ignoring each other. Maybe it's about time that we just focused on the actual problem at hand.
Okay.
Which is, as you said, the monsters and all that stuff.
I'm prepared to ask for that help as gently and as kindly as possible, and I'm prepared to even take unfavorable terms, and I'm prepared to even turn to my constituents here and then trying to insist them to take those terms. But there's gonna have to be some talks. It's gonna have to be some give. You can't just sit there and say nope, we're still in shutdown. Maybe he'll appreciate that example.
Oof.
All right.
Yeah.
So, do we have anything else
maybe
that we
that'll
need to say?
actually.
No, we could wrap that up. Is that a good place to leave that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good place.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna hit stop. Holy shit. Stop.